Chapter 1946. Bai Feng's death was nothing more than an insignificant interlude. Since this fellow had overestimated himself and sought death, he must have already made preparations to go to the Yellow Springs. Let's move on. Waving his hand, Wu Chen got on the horse again. Just as he took 2 steps, who would have thought that after he took a few steps, the deathly silent valley suddenly shook as if it had been detonated. This is... Everyone's eyes widened as they looked straight ahead. The road ahead was suddenly filled with a monstrous cloud of dust. Following that, the originally stable valley suddenly began to tremble. Boom, boom, boom. As though there was an earthquake, the ground kept shaking. Many of the Golden Fire cavalrymen could not even stabilize their bodies and fell off their horses. 1-20 mechanical white tigers. The moon goddess's face turned gloomy. The culprit behind this huge movement was the wild beasts that were roaring in front of them, the brand new mechanical white tigers. The Mo family has been doing a lot of things behind my back. Wu Chen was also dumbstruck by the Mo family's big move. It was not because he was afraid of their strength, but because there were a total of 20 mechanical whitebeards blocking in front of him. It was truly shocking. I guess these are all from the past. Concubine Yin looked at some of the old mechanical white tigers, and they were obviously old. She analyzed. I guess these are old equipment that was secretly found in the ruins of the Mo family's mechanical city. Many of them were made recently. Speaking of which, didn't the Mo family advocate love with impartiality and non-aggression? Why did they make so many mechanical white tigers? This is not in line with their teachings, Great Si Ming said in shock. Anyone would be surprised to see a group of mechanical white tigers. Love with impartiality and non-aggression? Dustless sneered and said in disdain. Bullsh *T. Love with impartiality and non-aggression are all lies. Compared to the mechanical white tigers, the mechanical green dragon is more powerful. I saw it with my own eyes the last time. That thing can burn everything. Compared to the mechanical green dragon, Dustless felt that the mechanical white tigers were much weaker. The biggest difference was that although the mechanical white tigers were hard to make, they could be mass-produced. Just like the current situation. As long as there was enough time, they could create an army of mechanical white tigers. As for the Mo family's mechanical azure dragon, there was only one of them. Surrender. At this moment, a voice that Dustless was familiar with suddenly came from the void. He looked up and saw a wooden mechanical bird flying in the sky. The Mo family's vermilion bird? Dustless saw the familiar face of the person controlling the vermilion bird when he recognized the name of the mechanical beast. Oh, it's Master Ban. Dustless didn't bother to smile and asked, Old man, long time no see. How have you been? You're not going to kill me, are you? Why are you treating me like this? Dustless, as long as you surrender, the Mo family will spare your life for the sake of our past friendship. Master Ban sat on the mechanical vermilion bird. His voice was so loud that it reached everyone's ears. The people from the school of Yinyang were still fine. They knew that Zichun was Dustless, but the soldiers of the state of Qin were clearly not in a good position. They were whispering to each other. From the looks of it, it seemed that Dustless was inextricably linked to the school of Mo. Dustless? That sounds like the name of a rebel. Why do the people of the school of Mo call Zichun of the Confucians that? The Qin soldiers were confused and couldn't figure out what Master Ban was talking about. Only some shrewd people noticed something unusual. Then one person spread the news to 10 to 100, and the way everyone looked at Dustless changed. What a despicable old man. Concubine Yen, Yueshan, and the others looked at each other. They were all dissatisfied and disgusted by Master Ban's cunning. The old man kept saying that he would spare Dustless, but now he deliberately exposed Dustless's identity in front of the Qin soldiers. Wasn't it obvious that he wanted to kill Dustless? This stinky old man looks harmless, but he's actually very cunning. The people of the school of Mo are all hypocrites. Great Si Ming snorted. A cold light condensed in his eyes. It's fine. Dustless just waved his hand and a ray of light shot out from his fingertip. Pfft. The mechanical vermilion bird's flank was suddenly hit by a fatal blow, and a clear hole appeared. The vermilion bird, which was flying high, couldn't stabilize its body and fell quickly. Hateful guy who doesn't know what's good for him. Seeing that Dustless was so insensible, Master Ban couldn't hold back anymore. He waved his hand and more than 20 mechanical white tigers immediately began to run wildly. Annihilate the Qin army immediately. Don't worry about it, and don't help the Qin army. Let the mechanical white tigers kill them all. They heard something they shouldn't have. Dustless laughed sinisterly. The people of the school of Yinyang stepped aside, and let the people of the school of Mo torture the Qin state's Golden Fire cavalry. More than 20 white tigers could easily destroy 700 to 800 Qin soldiers. In front of advanced technology, ordinary people were just grains of sand. As for us, looking at the place where the mechanical vermilion bird fell, Dustless ordered with a cold face. If I'm not wrong, Master Ban might have activated the mechanical green dragon. I want to see what's different and rescue Snow Girl and Rong. The Qin army behind them was completely ignored by Dustless and the others. Anyway, these soldiers were sent by Li Si. If they died, then so be it. It had nothing to do with them. In addition to helping Dustless and the others to annihilate the school of Mo, these Qin soldiers also had a special mission, which was to monitor Dustless and the others. Just as Dustless expected, after the mechanical vermilion bird was shot down, Master Ban and the others spent a lot of effort to land, and then immediately went to activate the hidden mechanical green dragon. The monster was about to break out of the cage. Chapter 1947. Hurry up and get ready. Otherwise, we will miss this great opportunity. If we can't take care of Dustless this time, it will be even harder to kill Dustless in the future. Master Ban urged loudly. In front of them was a super monster. This bronze monster had a mighty head. Its appearance was similar to that of a dragon's head. At the same time, there were two large eyes embedded in its eye sockets. Its body was dozens of meters tall. Even though there was no one controlling it for the time being, it would occasionally let out a frightening dragon roar. Not only that, this monster also had two broad wings. When it flapped slightly, it created a fierce storm. There were many long barrels hanging on it, which were most likely filled with explosives. These shameless bastards of the Mo family are really good at cheating. They even know how to make explosives in this era. The members of the school of Yinyang who had arrived on horseback looked up at the huge green dragon. The leader was of course Dustless. Especially when he saw the wooden barrels hanging on its wings, he couldn't help but think of a strange thing: missiles. Although it was fundamentally different from the missiles in the world he lived in, that was the first impression it gave people. Shoo shoo shoo. Suddenly, a fierce gust of wind blew towards them. Suddenly, the earth started to shake and the mountains shook. The trees were snapped and the terrifying wind made people feel like they were in the middle of a typhoon. Damn monster. Dustless was fine. Although the wind was exaggerated, it was not enough to affect him. However, the rest of the school of Yinyang were stunned as they looked at the monster in the sky. Their bodies were blown back by the wind. Dustless had no choice but to release chakra from his body and cover them tightly. This is the mechanical green dragon? Young Master Ming looked at the giant mechanical beast hovering above them with a strange expression. She said softly, "It doesn't look like a dragon at all. It looks more like a bird." The members of the school of Yinyang nodded. In terms of appearance, it was totally different from what they had imagined. That's not important. Dustless didn't care about it at all. He said indifferently, "This green dragon and the white tiger mechanical beast are the source of the Mo family's confidence. After destroying them, the Mo family will fall apart." But, Concubine Yin paused for a moment. She looked up at the mechanical green dragon flying in the void and said in frustration, "But we don't have the ability to attack this monster. Let alone destroy it. We'll be lucky if we can survive." "That's right. Dustless, your school of Yinyang ends here." Old Man Ban's confident voice came from the void. "If it weren't for the situation going out of control, I wouldn't have used my final trump card. Old Man Ban, how much longer are you going to pretend?" "The green dragon has already been activated. What's the point of saying all this now? Are you going to tell me about your Mo family's love with impartiality and non-aggression?" Dustless looked at the mechanical green dragon circling in the air indifferently. Suddenly, he laughed in contempt and said, "Moreover, do you really think that victory is already in your hands? Umph. Could it be that you think you can still turn defeat into victory?" When Old Man saw that Dustless was being stubborn, he didn't want to waste any more time talking nonsense. He decisively pressed the button to control the green dragon. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The wooden gunpowder barrels hanging from the wings of the green dragon suddenly fell from the sky. The strangest thing was that they were able to turn around and attack from all directions, as if they were automatically guided by a satellite. What uncanny technology! If this had happened in the future, it would have been understandable. However, this was more than 2,000 years ago. The Mo family's ability to create the green dragon was completely cheating. At the same time, Dustless suddenly had a lot of confidence in Yun Zhongjuan. Since the Mo family could create this kind of mechanical beast that defied the laws of physics, there was no reason why Yun Zhongjuan couldn't create the amazing elixir of immortality. But it's a pity. Kensusanu. The energy fluctuations that had shrouded them suddenly rose to a new level. Then they quickly shrank, revealing layers of skeletons. A ferocious-looking monster suddenly emerged from the water. Boom boom boom. The wooden explosives that could navigate all blasted on the mature Susanu's body. Suddenly, a large fireball swept up, and the area within a radius of 100 meters was ignited with a blazing disaster. When the green dragon was first activated, it was also an exaggerated scene. The flames burned everything, and the earth shook. It should be dead, right? Master Ban and the others who were controlling the green dragon wiped their sweat. The ground was a mess. Looking at the scorched land, their confidence swelled. They were afraid that only a few of such shocking mechanical beasts would be enough to destroy the invincible cavalry of the Qin kingdom. Master Ban, look, Teacher Su said in surprise. What's that? Is it a golden giant? A huge gust of wind came from afar, and the black smoke that filled the sky dispersed. A golden energy monster suddenly appeared in front of their eyes. Damn it, what kind of monster is that? Is it also a mechanical beast? Dustless and the others are safe and sound. Seeing that the people protected by the golden giant were unharmed, Master Ban's internal organs jumped violently. He didn't have time to be surprised. He pressed the button of the green dragon again, and the wooden gunpowder barrels hanging from its wings shot out again. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Reciprocity is basic etiquette. You can't keep attacking me. Dustless smiled coldly. He straightened his fingers and pointed to the depths of the void. The golden energy ball at the tip of his thumb flashed quietly and tore the surrounding sky apart in an instant. Wang Su's flash. Chapter 1948. Ka ka ka. The energy ball spun rapidly, and the void began to distort and expand in the form of a vortex. The rampaging power distorted space and time, shattering the boundless sky. With Wang Su's flash as the center, a pitch-black hole appeared in the void, radiating an intense gravitational force. Even the sunlight was sucked in, and in an instant, the entire sky turned dark. Damn it, what's going on? Master Ban, who was controlling the mechanical green dragon in the sky, shouted in panic. He tried his best to control the mechanical green dragon to fly north, but the movement of the entire time and space had been rewritten, and the mechanical green dragon's huge body was constantly being pulled back. Master Ban was stunned when he turned his head to look. What's that? The void above Dustless's head was hazy, and a giant vortex appeared, constantly swallowing the sky within a radius of hundreds of kilometers. The white clouds and the clear sky were all crushed, as if the end of the world had arrived. An endless despair filled the air. The mechanical green dragon naturally couldn't escape, and it was about to be crushed by the dark hole. It's over if it's swallowed. Master Ban's heart was filled with despair. He looked at the flash in Dustless's hand with fear, and his heart was in his throat. Hurry up and knock that ball out of Dustless's hand. Master Ban, who was sweating profusely, ordered his assistant who was controlling the mechanical beast. He felt his blood boiling after being aimed at by the flash. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The mechanical green dragon flapped its wings, and countless wooden explosives shot out again at Dustless in unison. This is the last farewell, Master Ban. Dustless raised his eyelids and glanced at the incoming missiles. The flash condensed in his right hand flicked out with his finger. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Wherever the golden light touched, the void shattered and collapsed in droves. The blue sky was horrifying, as if it had been cut into pieces by a peerless divine sword. Really, it's too easy for you guys. Dying to this move. It's not in vain for us to know each other. Dustless said uninterestedly after letting out a breath of cold air. Although Dustless's void flash could be used by all great voids above the level of Ajuch's, in terms of density, the void flash used by Dustless was dozens of times more powerful than Vasto Lord's. After devouring the Hogyoku and the Spirit King, Dustless himself did not know how much spiritual pressure he had accumulated. It's all over now. Seeing the thick beam of light, Master Ban's heart was dead silent. It was too late for regrets. He could not help but blame Zhongliang. If he had not cooperated with Quicksand to enrage Dustless, he would not have ended up like this. Boom boom boom. The mechanical green dragon was struck head-on, and the sky within a radius of dozens of miles trembled violently. A huge crater appeared in the sky, and the energy ripples that spread out destroyed the surrounding mountains, leveling them to the ground. The energy ripples that spread out in all directions set off an unprecedented storm that swept across the vast sky. Everything that came into contact with it suffered a devastating blow. It seems that I used too much force. Looking at the crater in the sky that was nearly 10 kilometers long had been blasted into a black hole by Dustless's void flash. The blue sky had an abyss that could never be repaired. Everyone from the school of Inyang looked at Dustless in horror. Their faces were blank and dazed. Then they looked at the shocking crack in the sky. It was obviously a natural disaster. Could a human do such a thing? Wasn't this too strange? What are you all looking at? Hurry up and deal with those mechanical white tigers. Seeing everyone staring at him in a daze, Dustless scolded loudly. There were no flowers on his face, so what was there to look at? If they had the time to be in a daze, they might as well take this opportunity to destroy the last of the school of Mo's mechanical beasts. After this battle, the school of Mo will only exist in name. Looking at Dustless, Yueshin's lips trembled as she spoke. She thought to herself, luckily, the school of Inyang didn't stand against this guy back then. Otherwise, thinking about what would happen to the school of Mo, Yueshin couldn't help but tremble. Roar 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 roar. From the depths of the valley, the hysterical roars of the mechanical white tigers could be heard. Looking over, the valley where the Qin army and the mechanical beasts were fighting had become a dead end. The corpses of the Golden Fire cavalry were everywhere, forming mountains and flowing rivers of blood. It's just as I thought. These good-for-nothings might be able to take down a city, but against the mechanical beasts, they will only die. None of the mechanical beasts of the school of Mo were killed. In just 10 minutes, around 700 to 800 Qin soldiers were slaughtered. Corpses and blood were everywhere, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. Roar 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 roar. Noticing the appearance of Dustless and the others, more than 20 mechanical white tigers suddenly swooped down, and their bloody fangs were open to the extreme. These guys are really greedy. It's already a great victory to wipe out 700 to 800 Qin soldiers, but they still want to destroy us as well. Just like before, Dustless raised his right hand again, and formed a handprint. Immortal Art Ming Sheng Gate. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Countless red logs fell from the sky. They were so fast that there was no way to escape. The mechanical white tigers were annihilated in an instant, and the mighty and domineering white tigers became scrap metal that no one cared about. Other than Tianming, there seems to be Big Hammer and Roberji left in the school of Mo. Muttering, Dustless and the others continued to move forward. Duanmu Rong and the Snow Lady were no longer part of the school of Mo, otherwise, they wouldn't have been locked up. Stop. At this moment, a crisp and unfriendly voice stopped Dustless. Shifting his gaze, an unexpected face invaded Dustless's eyes. Are you the last reinforcement? Qilian? But what's the use of you? Are you here to beg for mercy? Chapter 1949. Surrender. Qilian sneered and said, I'm sorry, Dustless. I don't intend to surrender yet. That means you intend to fight? TSK, humans are such mysterious creatures. They know they're digging their own graves, but they don't give up. Apart from being a little stupid, what's so special about them? Wu Chen stared at Qi Lian calmly. His lips were squirming. When he was about to open his mouth again, Qi Lian suddenly waved his hand toward the jungle. Come, bring little sister Snow Lady out for me. Qi Lian smiled very calmly with a smug smile on his face. Thud, thud, thud. Suddenly, a series of messy footsteps sounded from the forest. Then the Snow Lady, who was tied up, came into view. You intend to threaten me? Dustless warned with a cold look in his eyes. Perhaps if you kneel down and beg me, I might let you go. However, you chose another extreme method. That's too contradictory. Qi Lian smiled even more happily. He blinked and said, Snow Lady is from the Mo family. What does that have to do with you? If I remember correctly, you should be from the school of Yinyang. You're their leader. Snow Lady opened her mouth. Her expression was a little awkward, as if she found it hard to speak. Finally, she lowered her head. Where's Ronger? Dustless raised his eyebrows when he didn't see Duan Murong. His main goal was Duan Murong and Snow Lady. Destroying the Mo family was just a matter of convenience. Qi Lian didn't mince his words. Snow Lady is enough to keep her as a hostage. As for Duan Murong, she's a good trump card. Such a despicable plan. It was Wei Zhuang who came up with it, right? He's always been unscrupulous, the moon goddess said. Despicable? Unscrupulous? Qi Lian laughed disapprovingly and mocked. We're despicable, perhaps. However, what right does your school of Yinyang have to call others despicable? Let's stop chatting. Dustless was too lazy to talk nonsense with Qi Lian. He said to himself, since Wei Zhuang took Ronger to threaten me then. Dustless stared at Qi Lian with an oppressive gaze. His body disappeared in an instant and reappeared in front of Qi Lian in a flash. Then I can only capture you alive to threaten Wei Zhuang. So fast. Qi Lian's pupils suddenly froze. Seeing Dustless suddenly descend like lightning, he hurriedly reached for the thin and soft long sword at his waist, but it was already too late. Cough, cough, cough. Crimson Viper helplessly discovered that her neck had been tightly grasped by Dustless. She was coughing incessantly, not to mention drawing her sword to attack. Even breathing was extremely difficult for her. Let go of me. Are you going to watch as the Snow Maidens get killed? Crimson Viper struggled violently. Her slender legs were almost completely exposed to Dustless's eyes. Due to her violent struggle, the places deep inside her thighs that should not be seen were vaguely visible. Is that so? A wisp of a ridiculing smile flashed on Wu Chen's face when he heard this, and then he pointed at the direction Snow Maiden had been captured and teased. Young Miss Qi Lian, please take a closer look. Remember, open your eyes wide this time. Anger flashed across Qi Lian's pretty face when Dustless looked at her with a mocking gaze. That contemptuous gaze was filled with mockery and ridicule, as if he was looking at a plaything. Don't worry about me. Kill the Snow Maidens for me. The infuriated Qi Lian waved her hand and ordered furiously. Her imposing manner showed that she wanted to perish together with Dustless and head to the netherworld together. However, the tragic thing was that after a few seconds of giving the order, no one responded to Qi Lian. Damn it! Seeing this, Qi Lian abruptly turned her head around, only to be stunned to discover that the few Mo clan disciples who had followed her here had all fallen to the ground at some unknown time, their eyes rolling up into the back of their heads. When did this start? Qi Lian's eyes widened in disbelief. She did not even feel the slightest movement. When did it start? Looking at Qi Lian with pity, Dustless smiled and said, There is no need to answer this question. Didn't it already start when you saw me? With a sinister glow in his eyes, Dustless grabbed Qi Lian's chin and warned her fiercely. Tell me, where did the Mahist disciples and that brat Wei Zhuang go? In your dreams. Hearing this, Qi Lian did not even look at Dustless. She simply turned her head away, and did not even bother to look at Dustless. Yo, you have a tough temper. I like women like this. Conquering them gives me a sense of accomplishment. Hee hee. Dustless smiled calmly and said to the moon goddess and the others behind him with a sinister look, You guys back off first. I want to have a good talk with Miss Qilian. The people from the school of Inyang looked at each other, and speechlessly looked at Dustless. Even with the temperament of the moon goddess and concubine Yen, they were embarrassed and blushed slightly. Naturally, they knew what Dustless was talking about. Rascal. Young Master Ming and Great Master Ming snorted in dissatisfaction. However, they did as they were told and took the initiative to leave Dustless and Qilian, giving them the home ground. Don't mess around. Qilian's pretty face darkened. If she still did not know what Dustless meant, she would have lived for decades in vain. I like to mess around, especially with people like you who like to resist me. Dustless started to undress on purpose, revealing his muscular body. Stop it. I will tell you where they are. Qilian immediately panicked when she saw this. She still had Wei Zhuang in her heart. It didn't matter if she was killed, but if she was captured alive by Wu Chun and her body was sullied, it would be more painful than killing her. Chapter 1950. Hee hee. Dustless's eyes couldn't help but darken when he heard Qilian admitting defeat. He put on his shirt again and said uninterestedly, "Seriously, I'm not used to you being so obedient all of a sudden. I originally wanted to play some interesting games with you. Alright, let's cut the crap." Miss Qilian, confess. Looking at Qilian's pretty face that was filled with unwillingness, Dustless felt rather comfortable in his heart. He was indeed scaring Qilian, but it was undeniable that sometimes, the most despicable method was the most useful. They went to the farmer's home. After pondering for a while, Qilian gave an answer that made Dustless frown. She continued, "I only know this much. If you don't believe me, you can kill me." Farmer's home? There are many people in the farmer's home. Lai Mountain Clan, Chiyu Clan, Gonggong Clan. There are a total of 6 clans. Don't you have more detailed information? Dustless was very dissatisfied with Qilian's answer. Let me repeat myself. I only know this much, little brother Dustless. Qilian shrugged and said calmly, "If you continue to threaten me with the despicable means just now, I will bite my tongue and commit suicide." Emph. You can only die if I let you. If I let you live, you have to live. After looking at Qilian coldly, Dustless looked at young Master Ming. That subtle look was clearly hinting for young Master Ming to capture Qilian as a hostage. Wei Zhuang could capture Duan Murong as a hostage. Dustless could also capture Qilian as a hostage and give her a taste of her own medicine. Also, watch your tone. Don't call me little brother. I may be young, but your ancestors had to call me Grandpa Dustless when they saw me. After looking at Qilian coldly, Dustless left in a huff. After Dustless left, Moon Goddess and the rest couldn't help but laugh. Dustless's "call me Grandpa Dustless" was too funny. You bastard. However, as the person involved, Qilian was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. Her delicate face turned red and frosty. Unfortunately, she was already tied up by Xiaoxi Ming. Otherwise, she wouldn't mind starting a life and death battle with Dustless. Little guy, if I can't even deal with you, then I've lived for so long in vain. Dustless muttered to himself as he leisurely glanced at Qilian's ashen face. Then he slowly walked toward the Snow Lady with a faint smile on his face. There was a rare trace of gentleness on his face. Snow Lady they. Unfortunately, before Dustless could finish his sentence, the Snow Lady walked towards the isolated carriage with a look of hatred on her face. One of the young men with a lifeless aura attracted the Snow Lady's attention. People from the Mo family? Do you need something from me? Looking at the approaching Snow Lady, the pale-faced young man raised his head in confusion. The Snow Lady's murderous look made it seem like she had a blood feud with him. Xing Hun, I want to avenge little Gao. How dare you throw him into the sea to feed the fish? Towards the end, the Snow Lady's eyes were already filled with tears. Nonsense, little Gao? I don't even know him. Xing Hun snorted coldly and didn't look at the Snow Lady anymore. Is there something wrong with this woman? He didn't even know little Gao. Xing Hun, you killed my husband. I want to avenge him. At the same time, concubine Yan walked over quickly with a cold look on her face. Without exception, the Snow Lady and concubine Yan's eyes were filled with hostility. Are the two of you crazy women sick? Who killed your husband? Get to the bottom of this. Veins popped out on Xing Hun's forehead. He felt as if he had been shot while lying down. Xing Hun knew concubine Yan's husband, Yan Dan. As for the little gal that the Snow Lady mentioned, after thinking about it carefully, the person of the opposite sex that she was closest to was undoubtedly Gao Jianli. Most importantly, I didn't do anything. How can you bully me like this? Don't slander me. Although I can't wait to kill Yan Dan and Gao Jianli, I didn't kill them at all, Xing Hun retorted with a red face. What a joke. He couldn't bear such a huge trap. Especially when concubine Yan and the Snow Lady were gnashing their teeth and glaring at him with hatred. Xing Hun's rationality told him that he couldn't admit it even if he was beaten to death. Xing Hun, you bastard. How dare you deny killing people? At this moment, Dustless, who was afraid of being exposed, interrupted sternly with a righteous expression. I saw you throw little Gao into the sea to feed the fish with my own eyes. I saw you kill the Mo family's Yan Dan with my own eyes. How dare you deny it? You deserve a beating. Slap. 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 Dustless took advantage of Xing Hun's stunned state and gave him 2 big slaps. You. Xing Hun was enraged. He glared at Dustless with reddened eyes. He realized sadly that he couldn't even speak properly. His mouth was filled with the pungent smell of blood, and he had even lost a few teeth. Humph, I'll take your silence as a yes. There's nothing more to say. Concubine Yan and the Snow Lady, send him on his way. This brat is so deranged. He deserves such a fate. Uft. Xing Hun's mouth twitched when he heard that. He spat out a mouthful of blood and trembled with anger. This damned bastard. He must have killed Yan Dan and Gao Jianli and purposely framed me for this groundless crime. Xing Hun wanted to cry but had no tears. Dustless had purposely slapped him until his mouth was crooked. He couldn't speak and could only scream in his heart. Really? The Snow Lady and concubine Yan were overjoyed. They looked at Dustless with gratitude. Do it. Xing Hun is a despicable person. He's a disgrace to the Yinyang family. Dustless waved his hand and turned his back to Xing Hun, indicating that the 2 women could attack. Xing Hun, you can die in peace. I'll spend a lot of money to hire someone to send you to hell secretly. Dustless prayed silently. He could only let Xing Hun take the blame for him. Chapter 1951. Bastard. Looking at the approaching duo, Xing Hun began to struggle with all his might. However, he was covered in chains that were thicker than his arms and legs. His resistance was futile. Swish. 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 Xing Hun's body bled profusely after receiving a fatal attack. His skin and flesh were clearly torn apart. Even his bones could be seen clearly. You're still not dead? Realizing that Xing Hun was still gasping for air, Dustless had no choice but to be the executioner. His eyes were filled with coldness. In this world, you are the only one who can enjoy this honor. Xing Hun Tsukuyomi. Dustless activated his eye power. Then, the world in front of Xing Hun turned upside down. He had arrived at an unfamiliar world where he was the only protagonist. No matter what, he had taken the blame for Wu Qin once. It was rare for Wu Qin to be so kind and give Xing Hun a euthanasia. It was barely right for this kid. Wu Qin hoped that Xing Hun could rest in peace in the netherworld. Deep in the wild mountains, the environment was so quiet that it was like a pool of stagnant water. Bright and dazzling gazes occasionally shone in some particularly hidden places. If one looked over, they would see the disciples of the School of Agriculture who were tense and on guard everywhere. Deep in the mountains, in a small wooden house that looked quite old, there was a disgusted voice. Who allowed you to trespass into the farmer clan's territory? Inside the wooden house, Chiyu Hall Master Tian who crossed his arms in front of him. His eyes were filled with arrogance. A majestic aura gathered around him. He looked like he would start a fight at any moment. This is the farmer clan. You are not welcome here. Gonggong Hall Master Tianzhong also joined in the commotion. He stared at the few people in front of him, and did not hide his hostility at all. The remaining members of the Mo family, and the remnants of the Quicksand army. The alliance between the two is just a defeated army. The figures standing in front of Tianhu and Tianzhong were Wei Zhuang, and the others who had luckily escaped from the Mo family's stronghold, as well as Gunya, Tianming, Xiaoyu and their retainers. Gentlemen, we are all members of the Anti-Qin Alliance. Why do we have to separate you and me? We have a common enemy. Zhang Liang calmly stepped forward to mediate. Although he concealed it very well, his turbid eyes still revealed fatigue and haggard. Both his mind and body had been ravaged by Dustless. Who could remain unscathed? What a joke. Just because we share the same standpoint, does our farmers' clan have to take you in? Do I have to help you guys as a matter of course? Stop dreaming. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. If you want us to take you in, we can do that, but you have to pay a price. Tianhu didn't give Zhang Liang any face. Even blood brothers had to settle accounts clearly. Moreover, it was very risky to take in this group of survivors. Of course, since we're staying overnight at a farmer's house, we have to pay for the lodging. Everyone, don't worry. Perhaps after tomorrow, Dustless will disappear from this world. Zhang Liang stood with his hands clasped behind his back. With a mysterious smile, he was extremely cunning. The next morning, the sun shone brightly through the small cracks on the window and shone on the thick blanket. With the faint light, one could vaguely see the white toes. Young Master Ming, don't put your legs on my stomach. Great Master Ming, don't touch me with your hands. Dustless's dissatisfied voice came from the warm blanket. Last night, the three of them huddled together naked. Until now, Dustless was still in a daze. There was a saying that the colder a woman was, the harder it was to satisfy her ambitions in certain aspects. Young Master Ming and Great Master Ming were such women. They were used to keeping people at arm's length. Now that they were released, they were like hungry tigers that wanted to devour Dustless. But the strong and sturdy Dustless finally withstood it, completely blocking the two of them, taking turns to tire him out. Even though the three of them slept in each other's arms, they didn't feel embarrassed or awkward. Different times also determined that everyone's value in life was different. Needless to say, Wu Chen's skin was unbelievably thick. He was used to it. Although young Master Ming and Great Master Ming were extremely resistant at first, they couldn't stand Dustless's sugar-coated bullets and finally gave in. Knock knock. At the same time, there was an anxious knock on the door. Dustless, get up quickly. Something bad has happened. Zhao Gao and Li Si are here with their troops. Concubine Yan's voice was filled with worry. They have surrounded the entire Mirage and are clamoring to capture the wanted criminal Dustless. My identity has been exposed? Upon hearing this, Dustless lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then he put on his clothes in an orderly manner. Young Master Ming and Great Master Ming, on the other hand, quickly put on their clothes with anxious expressions. Zhao Gao must have known your true identity and has sufficient evidence. Otherwise he wouldn't have surrounded the Mirage with his troops. This is the sacred place for alchemy appointed by Ying Zheng. Great Master Ming was so flustered that he even put on his clothes inside out. Dustless couldn't help but laugh. Your lazy attitude will get you into trouble sooner or later. Young Master Ming was also dissatisfied with Dustless. She moved her body slightly and almost fell down. It was all because of Dustless's ridiculous behavior last night. He kept tormenting her and Great Master Ming. Don't be afraid. Calm down. Don't forget that the Mirage is now the territory of the school of Yinyang. Dustless said with great confidence when he saw the two women's embarrassment. What's there to be afraid of? So what if Zhao Gao and Li Si find out? If it doesn't work, we can just overthrow the Qin dynasty. No matter when, where and what kind of emergency happens, we are invincible. Chapter 1952. As for why Zhao Gao and Li Si suddenly knew his identity, it was obvious that someone from the Mo family had leaked the news through a secret channel. That was how Zhao Gao and Li Si found out that Zichen was Dustless. That was why these two hungry wolves came uninvited. Overthrow the Qin kingdom? Young Master Ming and Great Master Ming looked at each other and nodded. If things really developed to this stage, it would not be difficult to destroy the Qin kingdom. The Qin kingdom was a giant, but the school of Yinyang was not to be trifled with. Let's go. Let's see if Zhao Gao and Li Si can really do anything. Holding young Master Ming and Great Master Ming's hands, Dustless swaggered out of the bedroom. His carefree and relaxed look made it seem as if Zhao Gao and Li Si were caught and Dustless was the executioner. This guy. Concubine Yin secretly had a headache. Looking at the groups of Qin soldiers through the window, she felt uneasy. I can only bite the bullet and do it. After a while, the indecisiveness in Concubine Yan's eyes disappeared. Since things had developed to this stage, she could only follow Dustless's footsteps. It's been an hour. That guy still dares to wait for us. How dare he? In the brightly lit hall, Zhao Gao noticed that Dustless was not coming. His patience was gradually wearing out. He and Li Si came to look for trouble early in the morning, but Dustless did not come. Obviously, he did it on purpose. We're not waiting anymore. Send someone to find Dustless immediately. Li Si's face was also hazy. He was the dignified prime minister, and Wu Qin was merely a criminal. He actually made him wait for a full hour. This was simply a crime deserving of 10,000 deaths. Search. Who gave you the confidence to do whatever you want? At this moment, a burst of cold air swept over everyone. Everyone stopped in their tracks and looked towards the source of the wind and waves. Zichen. After seeing who it was, Li Si questioned. Zichen, someone said that your real identity is that of the wanted criminal Dustless, and all the evidence has been sent over. What else do you have to say? Zhao Gao also looked unfriendly. At the same time, he made a subtle gesture to the slave of the 6 swords, which meant that if Dustless used force, he would immediately subdue him. Ah, is that so? Lord Li's long-cherished wish has been fulfilled. This is truly worthy of celebration. However, who would have thought that Wu Qin only laughed out in an uncharacteristic manner, followed by a sudden sentence that made Li Si, Zhao Gao, and the others so shocked that they were fried on the inside and tender on the outside. That's right. I'm that rebellious Dustless. What can you do to me? Zhao Gao, Li Si, and the 6 sword slaves all stared blankly at Wu Qin, who had an arrogant look on his face. Wu Chen's words were like a level 10 storm that swept past everyone's ears in an instant. His unruly face was obviously saying, I'm a rebellious thief. What can you do to me? Bastard, how dare a rebellious thief be so arrogant? Zhao Gao, take him down. Li Si was the first to react. His face was as dark as the lid of a pot. Dustless revealed his real identity without any hesitation, which was actually looking down on him and Zhao Gao. You 6, hurry up and capture Wu Qin. I don't care if he's dead or alive. With a wave of his hand, Zhao Gao immediately ordered the 6 sword slaves to attack. Swish. Swish. Do it. Without even looking at the 6 sword slaves, Dustless coldly said, Don't leave them alive. Just kill them all. They're as annoying as flies. Great Master Ming, Young Master Ming, Moon Goddess, and Concubine Yin didn't waste any time. They all used their techniques and spells to fight the 6 sword slaves who were attacking them from the front. Swish. 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 The 6 sword slaves were good at fighting as a team, but it was still difficult for them to defeat the school of Yinyang one-on-one. In less than a minute after the battle started, the 6 sword slaves were already losing. This is bad. Seeing this, Li Si and Zhao Gao's expressions changed drastically. A large number of Qin state soldiers were still outside the Mirage, and they didn't have time to support them. Of course, the reason for all this was because Chen Wuqin didn't play by the rules. If it were other people, they would rather be beaten to death than admit that they were traitors. But who would have thought that Wu Chen's way of doing things would be so unexpected? He simply admitted his identity. Li Si and Zhao Gao were both caught off guard. They did not expect that Wu Qin would directly shed all pretenses. Bang! A black shadow was hit by a powerful attack and flew out, smashing the wooden door into pieces. Trash! When Zhao Gao saw Wanchen in a sorry state, he scolded him in a bad mood. Not to mention the unfathomable Wu Qin. Even the 4 top experts of the Yinyang school would have a hard time dealing with him. If Wu Qin was added into the mix, Zhao Gao felt a chill down his spine. He suddenly realized that he was too reckless. He didn't think carefully before challenging Dustless. He was facing the risk of being annihilated by this guy. This useless good-for-nothing. Where did your confidence go? Trash. Staring fixedly at Zhao Gao, whose eyes flickered indeterminately, Li Si also understood that he had been tricked by this fellow. Before leaving, Zhao Gao had solemnly guaranteed that he would definitely be able to capture Wu Chen. But according to the current situation, the fact that the few of them were not killed by Wu Chen was already considered a blessing from the heavens. Li Si was so nervous that he was sweating. After all, he was the weakest in this group. If Dustless wanted to kill him, Li Si would definitely be the first one to suffer. Chapter 1953. Your Excellency, you're in a very bad situation. Seeing Li Si sweating profusely and smelling of sweat, Dustless teased. TSK, you haven't bathed for hundreds of years. Your body smells so bad. I'm afraid no one will eat you if you're thrown into the sea to feed the fish. You bastard, don't be too complacent. Even if you kill us, you won't have a good ending. All the land in the world belongs to the king, and all the people in the land are the king's subjects. If you kill me, can you still stand in this world? Li Si looked straight into Wu Chen's eyes without showing any signs of weakness. He looked completely fearless, but anyone could tell that in reality, Li Si did not have enough confidence. After all, Li Si was also a mortal. It was normal for him to be afraid of death. The higher he stood, the more respected he was. He was far more afraid of death than ordinary people. It was not easy for him to climb to his current position. If he died before he could enjoy it, who could tolerate it? Hee. Dustless smiled calmly at Li Si's threat and said lightly, Your Excellency, you've been wrong about one thing from the beginning to the end. First of all, the future is not something you can control. You only need to know that you're going to hell soon. Other trivial things can be discussed later. Swish, swish, swish. After saying that, Dustless flashed and came in front of Li Si. A pair of big hands went straight for Li Si's head. By the way, suddenly thinking of something, Dustless asked, By the way, where is my Yellowstone Heavenly Book? I've lent it to you two for so long. It's time to return it to me, right? Hearing that, Li Si's face was gloomy. He stared at Dustless and asked in a deep voice, Why are you sure that the Yellowstone Heavenly Book is in my hands? It may have been taken by Zhao Gao. Bastard. Zhao Gao cursed Li Si's shamelessness in his heart. At this time, the fire was about to burn his ass, but Li Si still wanted to hurt each other. Zhao Gao. Glancing at Zhao Gao, whose face was as black as a pot, Dustless sneered, He's just a lackey. Even if he had that kind of thing, he would give it to his master. Pucci. Seeing that Li Si was so disobedient, Dustless simply pierced his chest. Ah. Li Si let out a tormented scream. His face instantly turned as pale as a sheet of paper, and his body swayed back and forth as if he would fall at any moment. Minister Gua, are you still not going to call him out? Next time it might be your head, Dustless threatened in a calm tone, but the coldness in his voice made Li Si's heart turn cold. I understand. Looking at Dustless with fear in his eyes, Li Si finally chose to compromise. He took out a delicately decorated box and threw it to Dustless unwillingly. After spending so much effort, in the end, this fellow still benefited from it, Li Si lamented in his heart. For the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, he and Zhao Gao had even plotted to kill Sun Zi. Before they could even warm up the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, it was taken away by Dustless. Snatch my things? With just the two of you? Looking straight at Li Si's dim eyes, Dustless could vaguely see through his thoughts. What's mine will always be mine. Trying to snatch it is just asking for humiliation. After retracting the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, Dustless was just about to raise his blade and end Li Si's life when an unexpected voice suddenly came out of nowhere. Master Zichen. No, Master Dustless, on account of me. Can you let Li Xianghua off this time? An extremely refined voice came from outside the hall. Dustless turned his head to look, and saw an anxious Fu Su and Xiao Ming behind him. Li Si and Zhao Gao wanted to kill me. If I still let the two of them live, wouldn't this be raising a tiger and inviting calamity? Wu Chen said with a frown. The implication of his words was to reject Fu Su's conditions. Dustless, how dare you? Seeing this, Zhao Gao's voice was stern as he angrily rebuked. You actually dare to speak to young master like that, do you believe? You're courting death. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes shot out a scarlet light, and his body overflowed with a resplendent golden light. In an instant he appeared in front of Zhao Gao and slapped him twice without hesitation. Pa pa pa. 2 blood-red handprints immediately appeared on Zhao Gao's face. You dare to hit me? Zhao Gao was furious. He covered his bleeding mouth and clenched his fists so tightly that creaking sounds could be heard. Hit you? So what if I hit you? I'm going to kill you later. Dustless pointed his sword at Zhao Gao's throat and coldly snorted. In this world, those who want to order me around can go see a ghost. This fellow is quite bold. He actually dares to say such words in front of Fu Su. Is the Yinyang school also going to step on the path of rebelling against the Qin kingdom? Xiao Meng's calm eyes flashed with a faint ripple. To dare say such words in front of Dustless. It was enough to see that Dustless did not put the Qin kingdom in his eyes. Master Dustless, let's talk things over. Fu Su's face flashed with displeasure, but he still forced a smile and persuaded. We're all on the same side. There might be some misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Zhao Gao was instantly unhappy when he heard this. He quickly reported to Fu Su, Young master, you don't know. This Zichen's true identity is a wanted criminal of the Qin kingdom. He was previously with the Mo family's traitor, Dustless. As his voice fell, Zhao Gao looked at Dustless with hatred, hoping that Fu Su would give the order to capture Dustless. But as the saying goes, dreams are beautiful, but the real world is often cruel. Shut up. Who knew that Fu Su did not blame Dustless? Instead, he quickly walked over and imitated Dustless and gave Zhao Gao a slap. Chapter 1954. Young master, you? Zhao Gao shuddered. Forget about Wu Qin giving him a slap. Even Fu Su did the same. Where was Zhao Gao's face? His heart was filled with hatred towards the two of them. Damn you. I will tear you into pieces and feed your corpses to the dogs. Seeing the cold face of Fu Su, Zhao Gao swore in his heart that if he had the chance in the future, he would make Fu Su and Dustless die a horrible death. These two damn things made him lose face and become a laughingstock. They were unforgivable. Remember, Master Dustless is not a traitor. Fu Su warned coldly. Then he looked at Li Si and explained. Li Si, you are the Prime Minister. How can you not differentiate right from wrong? Young master, this? Li Si was speechless. Was he the one who couldn't differentiate right from wrong? Zichen was undoubtedly Dustless. Li Si had obtained clear evidence. But since Fu Su said so, Li Si could only lower his head and admit defeat. If he argued with Fu Su, wouldn't he just be asking for humiliation? After all, Fu Su was the successor of the empire and had a respected status. Zhao Gao was a living example. He had to endure being slapped. Do you have something that you can't say? Noticing Li Si's hesitation, Fu Su was even more dissatisfied. He frowned and said, Speak your mind. What are these guys trying to do? Seeing the situation, Dustless was in a dilemma. After Fu Su's intervention, everything seemed to have gone wrong. Originally, Dustless thought that Fu Su was here to help Li Si and Zhao Gao. But the result was the opposite. Hearing this, Li Si opened his mouth and glanced at Zhao Gao. He seemed to have made some kind of decision, and the hesitation in his eyes instantly disappeared. Damn Li Si. Seeing this, Zhao Gao's heart skipped a beat. Seeing the faint smile on Li Si's face, he became even more uneasy. Young master, this matter. Looking coldly at Zhao Gao, Li Si gritted his teeth and said, It was Zhao Gao's carelessness. It has nothing to do with me. Ka. Hearing this, Zhao Gao, who could not take the blow, gritted his teeth. How can Li Si be so shameless? Everyone says that politicians turn their backs on people. The ancients really didn't lie to me. Zhao Gao wailed in his heart. At this moment, he hated Li Si to the core. When they first found out that Zichen was Dustless, out of caution, Zhao Gao suggested that they investigate in secret for a period of time. However, Li Si was impatient and insisted on finding trouble with Dustless, which led to this current situation. Sadly, Li Si now pushed all the blame to Zhao Gao. Li Si naturally noticed Zhao Gao's abnormal behavior. Seeing his appearance of gnashing his teeth, Li Si snorted unreservedly and secretly laughed in his heart. I can't take care of Wu Chun, but could it be that I can't even take care of a slave like you? Noticing Li Si's warning gaze, Zhao Gao smiled awkwardly and acted as if nothing had happened. He didn't return to normal, but his heart was bleeding. The ancient society was like this. There was a strict hierarchy, and one level would crush the other. Even if there were thousands of dissatisfaction, Zhao Gao could only admit that he was unlucky. Rice bucket, what's the use of having you? Hearing this, Fu Su glared at Zhao Gao and scolded. Men take Zhao Gao away and beat him 20 times. Yes, young master. The soldiers brought by Fu Su took Zhao Gao away without hesitation. Even if this guy's strength was shocking, Zhao Gao didn't dare to resist. One was the crown prince of the empire, the future successor, and he, Zhao Gao, was just a slave. The two of them belonged to completely different dimensions. Master Dustless, everything in the past was a misunderstanding. Let the past be the past. Fu Su looked at Dustless with a smile. In reality, he knew that Dustless was a wanted criminal, but as the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Fu Su naturally understood this. Dustless was standing against the anti-Qin alliance, and he was also the leader of the school of Yinyang. That meant that he was a friend of the Qin Empire. Fu Su also understood that if he kicked the school of Yinyang out of the Qin Empire's camp, it would be disadvantageous to his side. Sacrificing Zhao Gao was nothing. Everyone knew that he had to choose the lesser of two evils. Then my arrest warrant. Master, don't worry. Before coming, I had already sent people to remove it. You are free now. Fu Su had a sincere smile. Then he asked, what does Master think of the school of family? Dustless was silent for a moment and then said coldly, they are ambitious and should be punished. Master, you are right. Hearing this, the rock on Fu Su's chest disappeared. The reason why he sacrificed Zhao Gao for Dustless was because he felt that Dustless was someone worth cooperating with. There was no conflict of interest between them. Everyone had the same goal. That was why they could jump into the same trench to face the enemy together. Master Xiaomeng, what do you think? Fu Su looked at Xiaomeng, who was aloof from the world. But the latter didn't appreciate it. She just glanced at Fu Su, who had a sincere expression, and didn't show any emotion. In Xiaomeng's eyes, young Master Fu Su was no different from an ordinary person. I have no interest in the grudges between the school of family and the Qin Empire, as well as the Mo family. But, she paused and then said coldly, my goal is only Xiao Yaozi. Xiao Yaozi? Dustless frowned and stared at the sword in Xiaomeng's hand. This sword belonged to Xiao Yaozi. For Xiaomeng to have it meant that she had killed Xiao Yaozi. But from her tone, Xiao Yaozi didn't seem to be dead. Chapter 1955. Anyway, the matter of Taoism has nothing to do with me. You can live or die as you wish. On second thought, Dustless put on a bored look as if it had nothing to do with him. The conflict between Taoism, Heaven Sect and Human Sect had nothing to do with him. Dustless gathered everyone together to create a steel alliance. Dustless did not care. It was good to share information. The school of Farmer had too many disciples. Dustless still did not know where the base of the school of Farmer was. The Qin army was powerful and would know the whereabouts of the school of Farmer. Ouch! At the same time, Zhao Gao walked in with a bitter face. Looking at his painful appearance, it was obvious that he was badly injured. 20 beatings were enough to kill a normal person easily. But to some extent, Fu Su had deliberately let him go. According to the laws of Qin, Zhao Gao was already sentenced to death. Among the 6 states, Qin had the strictest laws. Damn Li Si. Seeing Li Si's cold face as if everything had nothing to do with him, Zhao Gao wanted to eat his flesh and drink his blood. At the same time, his desire for power grew deeper. Because Zhao Gao's status was not as high as Li Si, he was bullied by Li Si. One was the prime minister, the other was just a magistrate. How could they be compared? Therefore, after Li Si's interference, Zhao Gao valued power more. When Wu Chen saw Zhao Gao's miserable face, he smiled but didn't say anything. He walked lazily to the front of the window and looked at the distant scenery in boredom. Something is wrong. After a while, Dustless raised his eyebrows. He suddenly realized that the security of the entire Mulberry Sea City was much tighter than before. A while ago, it was just the ordinary Qin cavalry. Why are they all changed to the Golden Fire cavalry today? And this formation doesn't seem right. Dustless's eyes revealed a look of contemplation as he muttered to himself. Such a grand display? Is Yingzheng, that old man, coming? If it is true, I am really looking forward to it. Everyone was curious and fearful of the legendary emperor. Even Dustless was curious about this legendary emperor. After all, he was the first emperor in history. Speaking of which, I have something important to inform all of you. Fu Su suddenly spoke. After looking around and seeing that there were no outsiders, he cautiously said, "Not long after, Imperial Father will patrol the Mulberry Sea. I hope that everyone can work together to protect the peace of the Mulberry Sea." Fu Su's words stirred up thousands of ripples. Even Xiaomeng, who did not care about anything, turned her head slightly. The first emperor's tour to the east? Xiaomeng muttered softly. She was somewhat surprised. But she quickly regained her calm and turned a deaf ear to it as if nothing had happened. It's just as I guessed. Dustless squinted his eyes and said bluntly, "If the remnants of the Mo family and Quicksand find out, and if the farmer party finds out, it'll be a disaster." That's right. So, I hope that everyone will do their best to protect Imperial Father's safety. Fu Su will be eternally grateful. Immediately after, under Wu Chen's shocked gaze, Fu Su actually cupped his hands towards him, and he looked very sincere. Humph, how can this guy? Li Si's eyes burned with jealousy. He saw Fu Su's actions and was jealous of him. What was Fu Su's status? He was the future successor of the empire. Although Dustless was the head of the school of Yinyang, he was just a Jianghu practitioner. He did not have the status of a noble, nor was he a court official. He was just a powerful commoner. But Fu Su's actions just now were something that even Li Si had never received, let alone others. I'll do my best. Dustless nodded. After living in this world for so long, he naturally knew what Fu Su's actions meant. To put it simply, it could be summed up in one word: beg. That's right, beg. To beg Dustless for help, one had to admit that Fu Su had indeed lowered himself. This kid is indeed not bad. To be honest, Dustless had a good impression of Fu Su. As the son of Yingzheng, he would inherit the empire in the future, but he did not put on any airs. It was indeed commendable. However, Fu Su's actions were normal. It was difficult to rely on the Qin's strength to stop the 100 schools of thought. Of course, it was not to say that the Qin was not a match for the 100 schools of thought. As the saying goes, one should not meddle in politics if one is not in position. The Qin army was not good at dealing with Jianghu people like the Mo family. For example, Meng Tian and the Golden Fire cavalry were used to attack cities. To deal with the Mo family and the farmers, they had to rely on Jianghu practitioners like Dustless. To put it bluntly, it was using Jianghu people to counter Jianghu people. But this is a good opportunity. On the surface, he agreed to Fu Su's request. However, Dustless was laughing coldly in his heart. As long as he told the news of Emperor Qin to the Mo family, those rebels would naturally ambush Emperor Qin. Yingzheng, don't blame me for this. You are too suitable as bait. Dustless's eyes glowed. In the past, he had created a plan of Emperor Qin's eastern tour. However, it was a conspiracy after all. After a series of unexpected developments, it had caused the entire plan to go bankrupt. However, it was different this time. This time, it was not a fake, but the real Emperor Qin. It would definitely attract the attention of some rebels. With Yingzheng dead, the world would be in chaos. The remnants of the Mo family, Gunya, and Wei Zhuang would definitely not let go of this rare opportunity. Chapter 1956. The traitors of the Mo clan only had one goal: to overthrow the Qin kingdom. What kind of plan could destroy the Qin kingdom in the shortest time possible? They would use the strategy of capturing the leader first, assassinating Yingzheng. For example, Jing Ke's assassination of the Qin kingdom was the fastest and most effective method. Therefore, the traitors of the Mo clan would do everything in their power to assassinate the king of Qin, Yingzheng. This was the main reason why the traitors of the Mo clan were willing to take the risk. In order to destroy the Mo clan and the Nong clan, we have no choice but to turn the act into reality and release the big fish, Yingzheng. If you die, don't worry, I will support Fu Su. Glancing at Fu Su, Wu Chen made a decision in his heart. What? Are you sure that Yingzheng is going to tour Mulberry Sea in 3 days? Everyone in the Nong clan stared at Zhang Liang in shock. They did not know where he had gotten this information from. How could such top-secret information be obtained so easily? That's what the information says. Zhang Liang nodded his head confidently. Then, a strange expression appeared on his face. He did not trust the source of this information. Mr. Zhang Liang, what's wrong? Everyone present was good at reading people's expressions. When Gunye saw that Zhang Liang was hesitating, he asked, "Where did this information come from?" "The school of Yinyang." Zhang Liang gave an answer that no one had expected. Hearing this, the members of the Mo clan fell silent. Even Wei Zhuang was not interested. It seemed that everyone had given up on this piece of information. The school of Yinyang. How could they believe it? They had been tricked. Dustless was the incarnation of the devil. He had been playing them for a fool. Actually, I think that the information might be true. Gunye expressed a different opinion. Ignoring the astonishment of the crowd, he explained, "The Qin soldiers stationed in Mulberry Sea City have all been replaced with the more elite Golden Fire Cavalry. This means that an important person is coming. Unless there is a special occasion, the Golden Fire Cavalry will not be deployed to guard a city." The Golden Fire Cavalry was used to attack cities. Now they were guarding the city like ordinary soldiers. It was a complete waste of talent, especially when they were fighting against the Hu. Good steel should be used on the blade, and the Golden Fire Cavalry was even more important. However, the situation this time was the opposite. It showed that it was because of Yingzheng's winter patrol that he deployed the Golden Fire Cavalry so tightly. "Forget it, you guys are too long-winded. Hurry up and let me scout for information." Daoji impatiently interrupted the silent atmosphere. A look of regret flashed across his face. The people of the Mo family had all been sacrificed. There was no point in him continuing to live. "I'm going to." Big Iron Hammer also said without hesitation. Although his strength was average, his resolute tone made people respect him and look at him in a new light. Interesting. Even Wei Zhuang, who looked down on the two of them, gave them a sidelong glance. "I object." Zhang Liang frowned. Their men had already been slaughtered by Dustless. If they went to their deaths, their anti-Qin faction would be completely wiped out. "If we don't scout for information, how can we confirm the authenticity of the information?" Daoji shrugged nonchalantly and smiled calmly. "I'm the best at lightness techniques here. Is there anyone more suitable than me to scout for information and infiltrate the mirage?" Hearing this, everyone fell silent. This was indeed the truth. If they did not scout for information, they would not be able to confirm the authenticity of the information Zhang Liang received. Moreover, there were many people who were stronger than Daoji in martial arts, but Daoji excelled in lightness techniques. "That's all we can do for now." Zhang Liang reluctantly agreed. It seemed that he had agreed to Daoji's plan. There was no other suitable choice. In the evening, the sky gradually turned cold, and the night sky gradually darkened. The void was dotted with bright light. Swish, swish, swish. A black shadow passed through the endless sky. While the mirage was docked, he used his amazing lightness techniques. In an instant, he passed through the layers of eyes and ears and invaded the mirage. What Golden Fire Cavalry? That's all there is to it. Curling his lips in contempt, Daoji went straight to search for Dustless and the others. He invaded the mirage like a ghost. That guy is so bored. It's fine if he's patrolling the east, but he has to make such a big show. It's as if he's afraid no one knows he's here. In a pavilion, looking at the night view of Shanghai from afar, even though it was already dark, there were still many Golden Fire Cavalry patrolling. The security of the entire city had reached an unprecedented level. That's right. With such a big show, Everyone knows that a big figure is coming. Yueshin quickly nodded. Then she frowned and said, Young Master Fu Su also did not say when Yingzheng would come to Shanghai. How can we cooperate? Because it's a secret. Fu Su only told me. The time is in 3 days. Dustless smiled and explained. Yingzheng came to Shanghai not only to worship heaven, but also to come to the mirage. To the mirage? What does Yingzheng want? Hearing that, Yueshin hesitated for a moment and then asked, Is he coming for our school of Yinyang? That's true. But to be exact, he should be coming for Yin Zhongjuan. Dustless smiled mysteriously, with a smile of success on his face. Why did Yingzheng suddenly visit the East? Generally speaking, he could visit the East at any time, but not now. After all, the front line was at war with the barbarians in the north. Every day, there was a large number of battle reports that needed to be checked and approved by Yingzheng. The reason he came all the way to Shanghai was that Dustless deliberately spread false news, saying that Yin Zhongjuan's elixir of immortality had been successfully concocted. That was why Yingzheng rushed to Shanghai in a hurry. Chapter 1957. Hehe, looks like it's not a big deal. Dustless isn't as evil as the rumors say. He still hasn't discovered my existence. On the roof, Daoji gently lifted the tile. Yueshin, who was listening to the conversation between Dustless and Yueshin, listened attentively. Yueshin, remember this. Yingzheng will be here in 3 days. When that time comes, you must be alert. Do not embarrass our school of Yinyang. Dustless ordered with a serious face. I understand, Sect Master. Yueshin used a very confident tone and said, The entire Mulberry Sea City is watertight. No one can hide from our eyes. No one can hide from your eyes. Are you the school of Yinyang's eyes? Daoji, who was lying on the roof, showed a contemptuous expression. He curled his lips and said, You are just a school of Yinyang. Do you really think you are invincible? Pathetic and laughable. At the same time, Daoji heard the important news he wanted to hear. After taking a deep look at Dustless, Daoji quietly retreated. Swish. 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 Daoji merged with the dark void and left quietly like a black wind. The soldiers stationed around did not notice Daoji's existence at all. They instinctively thought it was just a black wind at night. Zizi, did that prisoner's fly finally leave? After Daoji left, Dustless immediately put on a tired expression. Seriously, acting is so tiring. It must have been hard on those movie actors in my previous life. If one wanted to be completely at ease, one had to use 120% of their acting skills to deceive the audience. Yes, that guy left. It seems like he went to inform the school of Mo. Yueshin looked up at the roof. Because the tiles were lifted, she could see the deep starry sky outside through the weak cracks. Did you find out? Is there a backup? Dustless gulped down a mouthful of herbal tea, then said coldly, We still need Daoji to tell the news of Yingzheng to the people of Mo clan, so that they will be fooled. He can live for now. As for that disciple of Mo clan who was protecting Daoji, make him disappear from the face of the earth. The reason Robber Ji was still alive and Dustless had spent so much effort to put on an act was because Robber Ji had value. Dustless had used his mouth to spread false information and lead the rebels to their deaths. That person is one of the commanders of the Mahis clan, Big Iron Hammer. Moon Goddess said a name that Dustless was familiar with. Dustless's eyes immediately lit up with joy. That brat Big Hammer? Then let me deal with him and extract his memories to see where these traitors have hidden wrong. It would be best if we could find the base of the peasant family and wipe them all out. Dustless's eyes shone with a murderous light, and the killing intent in his body made people flee at the mere sight of him. Only Big Hammer, Daoji, and Tianming were left in the Mahis clan. The rest of them had either been subdued by Dustless or killed by him. Isn't Daoji's lightness skill unparalleled? Why is he so slow? I'm dying of anxiety. Outside the city, Big Hammer was talking to himself anxiously. After a few hours, he still hadn't found Daoji's shadow. The bad-tempered and impatient Big Hammer was cursing. I say. A ghostly voice came out of nowhere, as if it had jumped out from a crack in the void. Big Hammer was so scared that he almost jumped up. He hurriedly took a dozen steps back. Ah, is the commander of the Mahis clan so weak? Your performance is so disappointing. Sigh. A black shadow slowly walked out of the darkness. Under the dim moonlight, Big Hammer looked straight at it and saw a face that he hated the most. It's you? After seeing who it was, Big Hammer's eyes shone with hatred. Oh, you still recognize me. What an honor. He smiled politely and introduced himself. But let me introduce you first. The person who is going to take your head is me, the master of the Enyang clan, Dustless. You bastard, you killed so many of my brothers. I'm going to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. There was no need for others to set them off. Big Hammer, who was filled with hatred for Dustless, went berserk. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Big Hammer nimbly took off the bronze hammer on his neck and spun like a tornado. The hammer that was tied to the chain in his hand also spun crazily. Thor's hammer. The wind and waves became stronger and stronger, destroying all obstacles in the surroundings. The trees that were thicker than a person could not withstand a single blow from the Thor's hammer, and collapsed. Really? No matter what, we are old acquaintances. I'm looking forward to this meeting. Is this all you're showing me? Seeing Big Hammer dancing to his heart's content, Dustless instantly lost interest. This guy's level was too low. There was nothing special about him that was worth looking at. Go to hell. Big Hammer roared, and the crazily spinning hammer suddenly smashed towards him. Dustless was not afraid of the fatal attack. He just coldly raised his right hand. Bang, bang, bang. The iron hammer, which was enough to crush a big tree, swept from the right side, setting off bursts of violent thunder. The rough surface of the hammer was even covered with bright thunder and lightning. It looked like it was going to smash Wu Chen's head. Break for me. At the moment when the hammer was about to hit his head, Dustless suddenly made an astonishing move. He directly punched out with his seemingly weak fist. Crack, crack, crack. The hammer made of bronze broke into pieces in an instant and turned into boiling iron. It was directly smashed by Dustless's fist and turned into bronze fragments on the ground. Chapter 1958. This guy broke my hammer? Seeing the bronze fragments all over the ground, Big Hammer's pupils froze. He stared at the smiling Dustless in shock, as if he was looking at a living monster. A mere human being could break a bronze hammer that weighed hundreds of pounds. Was he still human? A real monster? What's there to be surprised about, Big Hammer? Dustless walked towards Big Hammer lazily, and the latter retreated in fear. Humans could be defeated, but monsters could eat humans if they were angry. Big Hammer knew that he was no match for Dustless. At this moment, his fighting spirit was completely crushed by Dustless. You stay away from me. Looking at Dustless's smiling face, Big Hammer sighed inwardly. He was born at the wrong time, and the heavens were unfair. Since the heavens created such a terrifying monster like Dustless, why did the heavens create them? These mediocre and incompetent mortals? They were completely ridiculed and bullied by Dustless. Did I hear wrongly? You just said that you wanted to avenge the disciples of the Mo family, and now you don't want to? If you keep a distance from me, it will be even more difficult for you to take revenge. You will never be able to do it. Dustless tried to keep a calm face as he stared at Big Hammer. Seeing that he was about to break down, he deliberately said, I forgot to tell you something. Your Mo family's great son Yindan and Gao Jianli were actually killed by me. What? Hearing this, Big Hammer looked as if he had been electrocuted. He was stunned, and his footsteps stopped instantly. Don't think it's unbelievable. I killed Yindan purely because I didn't like that guy. As for Gao Jianli, I can only say that he was unlucky and saw something that he shouldn't have. Therefore, I could only send him to the underworld to meet Yindan. Dustless slowly explained the reason. His lips trembled as he continued to provoke Big Hammer. Suddenly, the ground shook with a rumbling sound. I'll kill you, you bastard. Big Iron Hammer's eyes were red, and he recklessly jumped towards Dustless. Because of his body's weight and strength, the whole ground shook with Big Iron Hammer's footsteps, which was quite frightening. You want to die so quickly? Seeing this, Dustless did not hold back. He raised his right arm, and a golden light appeared at the tip of his thumb. It rapidly compressed and penetrated with a sharpness that could penetrate all things. Since Big Iron Hammer wanted to die, Dustless naturally wouldn't be polite. Your final struggle makes me feel bored, but it's also a way to pass the time, so I'll let you die a little faster. Lasers. The beam of light flew straight towards Big Hammer's head. It was so fast that it pierced through Big Hammer's body in the blink of an eye. Poochie. A charred and bloody hole appeared on Big Iron Hammer's head. It had been completely penetrated. Through his head, one could see the other side of the world. Even at the moment of his death, Big Hammer's eyes were still wide open, filled with a myriad of unwillingness. Let me take a look at your memories. Where exactly did the farmer's clan hide roam? And where exactly is their base of operations? Dustless's right arm grabbed Big Hammer's head. His eyes had turned purple, and he began to use his eye power to extract the memories in the depths of Big Hammer's mind. Whether it was the farmer's family, the Mo family, or other remnants of evil, they were all targets that Dustless wanted to destroy. In short, those who stood on the opposite side of me had no reason to live. This was very domineering and barbaric, but the nature of every world was like this. The winner was king, and the one with the bigger fist had the final say. Buzz buzz buzz. In a short while all the information Dustless wanted appeared in his mind. So that's how it is. Zhang Liang is really smart. The most dangerous place is the safest place? This arrangement really caught me off guard. They actually secretly locked Rong in the sage small manner. How cunning and insidious. Dustless did not find much about the farmer's family's territory. He only had a vague memory of it. As for the place where Duanmu Rong was locked up, Dustless found it very strange. It was the sage small manner of the Confucians, who would place an important hostage right under the enemy's nose. But Zhang Liang did the exact opposite, and he even hid it from Dustless's eyes. Zhang Liang, you stinking brat. The next time we meet, you will definitely die. With a cold snort, Dustless ignored the existence of gravity and disappeared into the dark night sky like a shadow. He went straight to the place where Duanmu Rong was locked up, the sage small manor. As for Big Hammer's corpse, that was not something Dustless could care about. He couldn't bring the corpse with him, could he? Moreover, even if Big Iron Hammer's corpse was destroyed by the cold wind, even if it was thrown under the sun, it had nothing to do with Wu Chun. In the end he was still an enemy, nothing more. While Dustless was rushing to the sage small manor, Daoji was also rushing back to the farmer's family. He had not found any trace of Big Hammer, and thought that he had come back alone. Who would have thought that he did not even see Big Hammer? Regarding this, Daoji was also deeply uneasy. After all, it had been very dangerous these past few days. Shanghai had gathered a large number of forces. Zhao Gao's net and the Qin State's Golden Fire Cavalry were all patrolling to prevent any mistakes. Even though Daoji wanted to go out and look for Big Hammer, his rationality told him that he had to stay. He told Gunia, Wei Zhuang, and the others everything he had heard from Dustless. Of course, the farmers' hall masters were also present. Although they did not get along well, they all had the same goal, to deal with Ying Zhang's Qin kingdom. Chapter 1959. Although Tian Hu of the School of Agriculture did not have a good relationship with the Mo family, they both had the same enemy, the Qin kingdom. That was why they were able to sit together and listen to Daoji's report. It was fine if they did not get along, but their positions and interests were the same. The news of Ying Zhang's eastern tour 3 days later is undoubtedly true. It was said by Wu Chen and Yueshan themselves. I heard it clearly at that time. Daoji had a look of certainty on his face as he spoke energetically. Phew! Hearing this, Gunia, Wei Zhuang, Xiaoyu, and the others all took a deep breath. Even Wei Zhuang, who usually spoke little and liked to be quiet, had eyes that were filled with a dazzling luster at this moment. It was not just the others. Even Wei Zhuang himself was tempted. In the past, Jing Ke failed to assassinate Ying Zhang because he was in the Qin kingdom's palace, which was heavily guarded. Now that Ying Zhang was out, it would be much easier to assassinate him. If Ying Zhang dies, everything will be over. Even if his empire does not collapse immediately, the impact of Ing Zheng's death will cause a huge commotion. There will be chaos within the empire. Wei Zhuang was very clear. Ing Zheng was the founder of the Qin kingdom. If he died, some people who were not willing to accept Fu Su as the successor would take advantage of the situation. That's right. Gunia nodded in agreement. It was rare for the two of them to share the same opinion. When I was still in Xianyang, Ing Zheng's other sons, Hu Hai was the smartest and most favored by Ing Zheng. If Fu Su were to fall from power, Hu Hai would undoubtedly be the next successor. Furthermore, Hu Hai also had supporters such as Zhao Gao. It's not just Zhao Gao now. Tianyan, the farmer's first female think tank, suddenly said, Zhao Gao and Li Si are very close. If I'm not wrong, the two of them might be in cahoots. That Zhao Gao and Li Si are not good people. Tian Hu, who was wearing a blindfold, snorted coldly. He looked past everyone and said coldly, although our common enemy is the Qin kingdom, I have to emphasize that the title of hero of the School of Agriculture is mine. Dustless's head is also mine. Upon hearing his words, the rest of them frowned, and a displeased look flashed in their eyes. Their current mission was to eliminate Ing Zheng, and everything else was negotiable. But for the sake of a Dustless, if they were to forget about Ing Zheng's head, wouldn't that be a big loss for a small gain? However, Tian Hu's words didn't stop them. 4 of the 6 halls of the School of Agriculture had already defected to Tian Hu, so no one dared to refute him. Stupid. Tian Mi, who had an enchanting figure, remained calm on the surface, but she was sneering in her heart. Often, the more self-righteous and omnipotent a person is, the faster he dies. And, after Tian Mi exhaled lightly, the corner of her eyes locked onto the people present. The determination in her heart suddenly wavered. These people don't see eye to eye. It's impossible to defeat the state of Qin. Even the Yin Yang family can't deal with them. Following them is equivalent to seeking death. As everyone knew, Tian Mi was a fence-sitter. She would side with whichever side the wind was stronger. Suddenly, she felt that if she were to stay in the same boat with these people, she would inevitably end up being wiped out. Tian Mi wanted to develop her Kuei Hall, not lead it to the end. At this moment, she couldn't help but have other thoughts. She felt that it was necessary to find another way to survive. A fine bird chooses a fine tree to nest in. If she knew that it was a dead end, she must be crazy to jump in without hesitation. About 10 to 10 hours later, in another direction. Sect Master. When Dustless was about to have sex with young Master Ming and Great Master Ming, Yueshin's cold voice suddenly came from outside the room. What bad luck! Dustless climbed out of the bed with a gloomy face. Young Master Ming and Great Master Ming pursed their lips and snickered. Everyone was very familiar with each other now, and they could even open their hearts to each other. You two just wait. I'll deal with you later. Dustless glanced at the smooth naked body, and put on his clothes unhappily. In the brightly lit hall. What's the matter, Yueshin? You better give me a reasonable explanation. Yueshin stared at Dustless's gloomy face and wondered. Why is this guy so temperamental? What did I do to offend him? Yueshin, who couldn't figure it out, didn't dwell on it anymore. She then said slowly, Tian Mi, one of the 6 halls of the Farmer's Hall is here. She wishes to meet you now. What do you think? Farmer's Tian Mi? Wu Chen's brows knit together when he heard this. And a beautiful woman with a mature and enchanting bearing, and an appearance that could be considered to be beautiful instantly appeared in his mind. Her eyes that could release electricity carried a charm that seduced one's soul, and the slightest carelessness would cause one to fall deeply into it. Rubbing his chin, Dustless analyzed to himself. I know a little about that Tian Mi. She's a mature woman who can't decide what to do. I guess she came to me to join forces with the Yin Yang school. Interesting. I didn't expect there to be a mole in the Farmer's Hall. Very good. Dustless, who was originally very unhappy, suddenly became interested. He looked at the moon deity and said, Bring her over to see me. This time, Tian Mi actually dared to rashly barge into the Yin Yang school. She can forget about leaving in one piece. Dustless was implying that he wanted to pull Tian Mi into his pirate ship. A mole with amazing intelligence could cause more damage than the enemy. Chapter 1960. There's no harm in meeting Tianmi anyway. Wuchen wouldn't lose anything if he met Tianmi, and he also wanted to see what tricks this woman had up her sleeves. In addition, this meeting would have an extraordinary impact on Tianmi, and there would be no room for her to retreat in the future. Once this matter was exposed, it would definitely be a fatal blow to Tianmi's reputation. It would arouse the hostility of the other halls of the farmer party, and they might even gang up on her. Therefore, no matter what, Tianmi had no way out. She could only go down the dark path with Dustless. Moon Goddess, go and call that woman over. I want to see where she gets the courage to come alone. About 10 minutes later, there was a sudden sound of slow footsteps in the brightly lit hall. Tap, tap, tap. As the footsteps got closer, Dustless, who was sitting on the main seat, slowly opened his eyes. His deep pupils stared at the beautiful figure behind Moon Goddess. His gaze was fixed on her body and didn't move. Leader, you're staring at me like that. I'm a little embarrassed. Tianmi found that she was being stared at by Dustless. She blew out a smoke ring in a relaxed manner. She didn't realize that she was in the tiger's den. She spoke naturally. Tianmi, I don't like to talk nonsense. Tell me your intention. Staring at this mature woman, Dustless felt that she wasn't simple. This indifferent and casual behavior was definitely not a pretense or forced calmness. The eyes were the window to the soul. Dustless didn't find any panic in Tianmi's eyes. He even caught a trace of ambition to control. This is interesting. This woman's ambition is not small. She wants to control me and play me in the palm of her hand? Dustless's sleepiness disappeared. He said with a burning gaze. Tianmi, you should know the consequences of meeting me, right? Of course I know. After today, I'm afraid I'll be seen as a traitor of the farmer party. I'll be despised. Tianmi sat down elegantly, completely ignoring Moon Goddess's existence. She said to herself, however, in my opinion, knowing that there are tigers in the mountain, but going to the tiger's mountain is tantamount to suicide. Therefore, Tianmi has come to meet with Jiaozhu to seek a way out for the brothers of Kuei Hall. So you want to join the school of Yinyang? Dustless knocked on the armrest with his eyes closed. He wasn't interested in this at all. Sorry, the school of Yinyang doesn't like small fries. You, hearing this, Tianmi's beautiful eyes flashed with anger, and the genuine qi in her body had already spread slightly. Hall Master Tian, I hope you understand that this is the school of Yinyang's mirage. The Moon Goddess glanced at Tianmi indifferently. Her words were filled with threat. Humph. Tianmi snorted and withdrew her genuine qi. She said straightforwardly, I'm here to cooperate with the Yinyang school, not to join your school. Cooperation? Huh? Dustless opened his eyes and stared at Tianmi in surprise. Soon after, he could not help but chuckle. You think it's funny? Tianmi's face darkened slightly. Even though Dustless didn't directly mock her, she knew that he was mocking her ignorance. Don't you think it's ridiculous? You actually want to cooperate with me. Have you figured out your identity? Tianmi, you're just the hall master of Kuei Hall, not the hero of the school of Yinyang. How can you represent the school of Yinyang to cooperate with me? You don't deserve it. Dustless couldn't help but laugh. At first, he thought that this woman was quite scheming. However, after a simple conversation, he suddenly lost this feeling. What was cooperation? It was very simple and direct. Both parties could cooperate if they had common interests. Tianmi joined Dustless's camp. Although she could have foresight in terms of intelligence, it was also like inviting a wolf into the house for Dustless. There was nothing special about it. Phew, hearing Dustless's mockery, Tianmi calmly blew out a smoke ring. Suddenly, she changed the topic and said, I heard that Jiaozhu and Duanmu Rong of the Mo family have a good relationship. They can be called bosom friends. I wonder how she is recently? This has nothing to do with you. I will find her sooner or later. Frowning, Dustless answered abruptly. He had already gone to the Shaoxing Manor. However, to his disappointment, Duanmu Rong had been taken away, leaving only a few corpses. Haha. It seems that Jiaozhu really cares about Miss Duanmu. Tianmi's eyes lit up. She chuckled and said, If Miss Duanmu is in my hands, will you still refuse to cooperate? Tianmi, Are you threatening me? Dustless narrowed his eyes and looked at her expressionlessly. The flow of air suddenly stopped, and suffocating pressure filled the air. The atmosphere instantly reached an explosive peak. It seemed that a fight would break out if there was a disagreement. This is not a threat. It's just a bargaining chip for cooperation. Tianmi tried to remain calm. Being stared at by Dustless's indifferent eyes, she felt as if she had fallen into an ice cave. What will happen if I refuse? Will you order your men to kill Ronger? Dustless asked calmly. He did not take any rash actions. He just stared at Tianmi with colder and colder eyes. The pressure on Tianmi also doubled. Of course not. Moreover, I also believe that the sect master is a woman who has tender feelings for the fairer sex. He won't kill me. Tianmi put on a charming smile, and her charming laughter was extremely seductive. This woman has the ability to tease men. Moon Goddess looked at Tianmi gently. She even suspected that if it were not for her existence, this woman would immediately take some actions to seduce Dustless to agree to her conditions. Having tender feelings for the fairer sex doesn't mean that I won't kill women. Moreover, countless beautiful women have died in my hands. Dustless retorted in an unfriendly tone. After pondering for a while, he said, cooperation is fine. At least bring Ronger to see me. Otherwise, there is nothing to talk about. Of course. Jiaozhu, please wait for a moment. Tianmi will leave. Chapter 1961. Fate is really cruel and full of twists and turns. Staring at Tianmi's disappearing back, Dustless said with emotion, why does Hierarch have such feelings? Sympathy for the weak? Yueshin was surprised, and she was curious about Dustless's idea. She always felt very strange. Dustless's apparent age was only 17 or 18 years old, but sometimes he gave people the illusion that he had lived for hundreds of years. Sympathy for the weak? That's right. I just think that this woman is a bit ridiculous. She wants to play with me. If she knows my true origin, she will understand the meaning of my words. Dustless finally closed his eyes. Anyway, he came from another world, and he was familiar with the development of the future. If he was controlled by Tianmi, wouldn't it be too ridiculous? What's more, even if she threatened Dustless with Duanmu Rong's safety, it was useless. The outer path eye reincarnation technique of Rinnegan was not a joke. About half an hour later, Tianmi came. This time, she was not alone. She came with a beautiful figure that Dustless had been thinking about day and night, Duanmu Rong. Sorry, I have caused you so much trouble. Duanmu Rong stood in front of Dustless with shame, and her watery eyes were dim. Don't worry about it. Isn't everything okay now? Above the mirage is my territory. Dustless smiled and patted Duanmu Rong's shoulder, indicating that she didn't need to think too much. A person's long life was always a little bumpy, and she just needed to get over it. Yueshin. Dustless suddenly looked at Yueshin, and he motioned her to take Duanmu Rong to rest. Miss Duanmu, this way please. Yueshin understood Dustless's meaning, and then took Duanmu Rong to the wing room. In the large hall, only two people were left, Dustless and Tianmi. Hierarch is really affectionate. Sister Duanmu is really lucky. Tianmi chuckled, and her every move was full of charm. Although Tianmi was somewhat beautiful, Dustless didn't know why he couldn't look at her. Instead, he felt that being in the same space with her made his breathing a little stuffy. I will inform Fu Su of your request. After looking at Tianmi for a while, Dustless continued. However, you have to give me Zhang Liang's head. Otherwise, I still can't trust you. Zhang Liang? Hearing this, Tianmi frowned. In terms of strength, Zhang Liang might not be as good as Wei Zhuang or Gunia, but he was extremely intelligent. Sect Master, with all due respect, Zhang Liang This is a necessary condition. You can reject it, but the cooperation will be voided. Without giving Tianmi a chance to talk nonsense, Dustless said coldly, Tianmi, someone should have told you that there's no free lunch in the world. You're still too inexperienced if you want to get something from me without sewing. Hearing this, Tianmi's expression froze. After taking a deep look at Dustless, she gritted her teeth and said, "In that case, Tianmi will accept your mission. I hope that your sect will keep its promise. After Zhang Liang's head is brought here, I will naturally tell Fu Su that it's your contribution. After the destruction of the School of Agriculture, the new hero chief will also be called Tianmi," Dustless replied calmly. In reality, he wasn't at a disadvantage. Although he agreed to help Tianmi become the new hero chief of the School of Agriculture, he didn't know if she could control others. Farewell. Joy appeared on Tianmi's face as she walked away gracefully. Her long, snow-white legs could be seen from time to time. Right, Tianmi still has something I don't understand. Suddenly recalling something, Tianmi turned her head to look at Wu Chen. Speak. This time, Dustless didn't beat around the bush. If it wasn't something sensitive, there was no harm in telling Tianmi. Is it true that Ing Zheng will come to Shanghai 3 days later? Although Daoji described that he heard it from Dustless, Tianmi found that Dustless wasn't the kind of person who liked to talk nonsense, especially about such secrets. Hearing this, Dustless's mouth suddenly curved into a strange arc. He replied, "Of course it's true. You have also discovered the Golden Fire Cavalry in Shanghai City. This is just to pave the way for Ing Zheng's arrival." Of course, I deliberately leaked the news that Ing Zheng is coming to Shanghai. Dustless laughed in his heart. It was true that Ing Zheng was coming to Shanghai to worship heaven and watch the mirage. The only difference was that Dustless deliberately leaked the news of Ing Zheng's arrival. In this way, the rebels would inevitably be attracted, and Dustless could take the opportunity to wipe them out. Time flew, and 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these 3 days, the security in Mulberry Sea City became more and more tense. Especially on the last day, almost every household had 2 soldiers of the Qin state in charge of guarding. Both sides of the street were almost full of soldiers of the Qin army. Even children now understood that a big shot was coming to Shanghai. When Li Si and Fu Su came to Shanghai, they didn't have such a big lineup. In fact, it was obvious who was coming to Shanghai this time. Ing Zheng, the king of Qin. Where did those people from the Mo family go? Dustless didn't join the team to protect the king of Qin. He only sent Yueshan and concubine Yan. As for Great Si Ming and Young Si Ming, they followed him quietly. Most likely they are hiding in an inn like us. Dustless, Great Si Ming, and Young Si Ming were hiding in Pao Ding's vacant inn. Because it had 2 floors, they could overlook the changes in the surroundings. If they want to take action, they should do it now. Otherwise, they won't have a chance. I heard that Ing Zheng is going to live in Sea Moon Villa. It's heavily guarded, and the people of Mo family can't get close at all. It's most likely that they are on the street. Young Si Ming added. After following Dustless, she became more talkative. Chapter 1962. What you two said makes sense. If we miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. There's only one chance. They should have planned the details of this in detail before. Dustless nodded in agreement. With Zhang Liang's personality, he definitely knew where the problem was. Therefore, he would not let go of this opportunity. Yueshan, how's the progress of the elixir of immortality made by the school of Yinyang? A powerful male voice came from the unique square palanquin. However, it was a stretch to call it a palanquin. At least, it was in Dustless's eyes. At best, it was a square frame that was then covered by a veil. Those with excellent eyesight could still see the blurry figure inside. Your Majesty. Hearing that, Yueshan hesitated. She actually did not know the specific progress of the elixir of immortality. That fellow Wu Chun is really something. This is going to be terrible. Yueshan rolled her eyes and thought hard about countermeasures. Deceiving the emperor was not a small crime. Beheading would be considered a light punishment. Even the Qin kingdom's laws were strict. If it was serious, they would use the torture of collective punishment. The school of Yinyang would be in trouble. It should be completed in a few days. Yueshan had no choice but to follow Dustless's dark path. Very good. Even through the veil, one could see the ecstasy on Ing Zheng's face. For so many years, he had been thinking about immortality every day, to the point that he almost went crazy. Now that his dream was about to come true, he was naturally excited. You want to live forever with the body of a mortal? Birth, old age, illness, and death are the processes that all things in the world must go through. No one in this world can escape from this iron law. Hearing Ying Zheng's happy tone, Yueshan snorted. She did not care about immortality, since the school of Yinyang had a new master, Dustless. Although his astrology was not as good as the original Donghuang Tai, his knowledge was definitely much better than Donghuang Tai. After all, Dustless had experienced countless worlds and seen all kinds of strange things. He was not something that Donghuang Tai could compare with. If there's really an existence in this world that can't be decayed by time, it's probably only that guy. The image of Dustless's back appeared in Moon God's mind. Combined with his unbelievable power, Moon God thought it was possible. She felt that Dustless's background was mysterious. Moon God often wondered where Dustless came from, but she couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she tried. Ka. Right at this moment, an unexpected change suddenly took place. Countless dark shadows suddenly sprung out from the inns on both sides of Ying Zheng's path, each holding a large blade that shone with a cold gleam. This sudden scene stunned everyone. These people. Seeing this, Dustless, who was secretly observing them, was about to make a move. However, after seeing their clumsy posture, he immediately stopped. These people did not seem to be assassins from the Mo family. Taking a closer look, almost all of them were wearing black masks. I remember that this group of rebels are all wanted criminals. Why do they have to wear masks? Is it really that powerful to wear masks? Dustless muttered to himself. Gunia and the others were wanted criminals. Even if they wore masks, would it be of any use? Could they be from the farmer's clan? Dustless thought to himself. To be honest, from the way these assassins moved, they didn't seem to be top-notch swordsmen like Gunia and Wei Zhuang. In terms of ability, they were far inferior. You're courting death. Seeing the assassins in black rushing over, Concubine Yen and Moon God immediately launched an attack, wrestling with the assassins. Their mission was to ensure Ying Zheng's safety. However, in a way, Ying Zheng didn't need anyone to protect him. He had Heaven's Inquisition, which was ranked first in the sword manual. How could such a person be ordinary? Moreover, it was common knowledge that since ancient times, the people of the Qin kingdom had always revered martial arts. As the emperor, Ying Zheng was definitely not an ordinary person. It was just that he rarely showed himself, so there was no chance for him to make a move. Avenge Lord Chongping. Ying Zheng is in that group. Don't let him go. Avenge Lord Chongping. The black-clothed assassins scrambled to be the first to charge at Qin Shi Huang while roaring loudly. Lord Chongping. This unsightly name was like a blade that pierced right into Ying Zheng's heart. In an instant, a cold air began to gather on his face, brimming with an ominous air of hostility. His temperament changed drastically, and he even drew his sword out of its sheath. No wonder I found it strange. So these people aren't the rebels from the Mo clan. Hearing the name, Lord Chongping, Dustless was enlightened. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Zhao Gao, that bastard. He can't help but want to make a move on Fusu? Why was Ying Zheng avoiding Lord Chongping so much, and even hated him so much? Lord Chongping was once one of Qin Shi Huang's meritorious officials. He was the right prime minister, and he was related to the eldest son of the Qin kingdom, Fusu. However, he later went to the Chu kingdom and rebelled against the Qin kingdom. Other than that, Fusu and Lord Chongping had a very special relationship. This was perhaps what Ying Zheng hated the most. In history, Lord Chongping was Fusu's uncle. How ambitious. You want to use this opportunity to frame Fusu? Zhao Gao and Li Si are really cunning. They have really put in a lot of effort to help Hu Hai ascend the throne. Dustless was too lazy to interfere. These small fries could be left to Yueshan and Concubine Yan. There was no need for him to get involved. He just needed to watch silently. Moreover, no matter what, Fusu was definitely going to be the scapegoat. The matter of Lord Chongping had always been a sore point in Ying Zheng's heart. Now that he was used by Zhao Gao and Li Si, no matter if Fusu was the one behind the assassination, he would still be punished. Chapter 1963. What a bummer. The people of the Mo family that he expected didn't appear. Wu Chen's heart suddenly waned. He was a little disheartened. He sat down on the stool with deep disdain on his face. Looks like Zhang Liang is just short-sighted. Although it was dangerous to carry out the assassination now, it would be even more dangerous when Ing Zheng returned to Haiyu Courtyard. After all, it was the territory of Qin army, and Ing Zheng was at a very close distance now, so close that he could even see his vague shadow. Zhao Gao, your subordinates are all good-for-nothings. Not only Dustless, Great Si Ming, and Young Si Ming, but also Li Si and Zhao Gao, who were standing next to Ing Zheng, were whispering. Li Si's eyes were burning with anger. Bastard! Seeing Li Si looking at him angrily, Zhao Gao wanted to kill himself. This guy would get angry at him whenever he was unhappy, and he was often scolded. Damn you, Li Si, I will tear you into pieces and wipe out all your family members. Zhao Gao roared in his heart, but on the surface, he just swallowed his broken teeth and put on an expression that said, "It's all my fault. You found this kind of person to assassinate His Majesty? Do you have a death wish?" Li Si stared at Zhao Gao and scolded. "Even without the guards, these people can't hurt His Majesty." "Well, you are right, Minister." Zhao Gao could not deny it. Although Ing Zheng did not do it personally, it did not mean that he was weak. On the contrary, this unfathomable emperor was rumored to be very evil. When Jing Ke had tried to assassinate the Qin emperor, Jing Ke had mysteriously died. Even though the outside world had said that Jing Ke had been killed by Gunye, how many people knew the truth? Everything was a mystery. Qin Shi Huang's life was shrouded in countless secrets, and all kinds of rumors were spread. Then what are you trying to do? Aren't you digging your own grave by finding such a powerful assassin? And judging from the situation, if we are captured alive, we will be exposed as the real culprits. Although I want to help Hu Hai ascend the throne, I don't want him to be exterminated by His Majesty as a traitor before he can even become the emperor. Hearing this, Li Si became even angrier. In his eyes, Zhao Gao's actions were akin to asking for trouble. Lord Prime Minister, don't worry. Even if we are captured alive, the blame will not fall on us. These assassins are just bait. Their true identities are farmers. Zhao Gao explained proudly. If His Majesty knew that these people were farmers, based on His Majesty's personality, what do you think he would do? Hearing this, Li Si frowned and said resolutely, "If that's the case, with His Majesty's personality, he definitely won't let those traitors off so easily. He will definitely make them pay with blood." What a brilliant move. He looked at Zhao Gao, who was laughing sinisterly in surprise. He wanted to borrow Ing Zheng's hand to destroy the farmer clan. Not only that, he also took the opportunity to plot against young Master Fu Su. After all, those assassins were shouting Lord Chongping's name, and Fu Su's uncle was Lord Chongping. How could Fu Su stay out of this? According to the laws of the Qin kingdom, it was impossible. This was a good strategy to kill two birds with one stone. Boom boom boom. At this moment, a huge tremor suddenly attracted everyone's attention. Ka ka ka. A quiet inn was suddenly crushed. Following this, several black figures dashed out from within. All of them were holding long swords, and their faces were filled with hostility. That is, a wisp of imperceptible cold light flashed past Wu Chen's face when he saw the man in a black robe. "Quicksand Wei Zhuang? You're finally willing to come out and die. The words you made me wait for have withered." Dustless stared at these people with glowing eyes. He realized that Wei Zhuang was not the only one. The other anti-Qin alliance had also suddenly appeared. "Tianmi, that woman." Staring at the people beside Wei Zhuang, Dustless frowned. He did not receive any information from Tianmi that the farmer clan would also participate in this operation. Oh, everyone is mobilized. This formation is really shocking. Not only Wei Zhuang, but even the experts of the farmer clan are here. Are they planning to make a final fight? Looking carefully, it was not only Wei Zhuang who had come. Even top experts like Gunia and Zai Yaozi were here. Not only that, the experts of the farmer clan had also participated in this encirclement. Yueshan and Concubine Yan's side suddenly fell into a disadvantageous position. It's time for us to make a move. Otherwise, concubine Yan and Yueshan will not be able to withstand it. Great Si-Ming and young Si-Ming looked at each other. Just as they were about to leave, a cold voice stopped them from leaving. I suddenly changed my mind. Don't meddle in other people's business. It's best to let Zhang die here. Dustless's words were shocking. At this critical moment, he decisively chose to stand aside and watch. He suddenly felt that it was better for Zhang to die. First of all, Zhang was here for the elixir of immortality. If he had really succeeded in refining it, it would have been fine. The key was that Dustless had tricked Zhang into coming to Shanghai. This was the crime of deceiving the emperor. According to the law, he should be executed. Secondly, Zhao Gao and Li Si had already framed Meng Tian. In the future, Meng Tian would definitely be sent to the northern border to fight with Meng Tian. Once he left, he would never return. Until he was killed by Zhao Gao and Li Si, he would never step into Xianyang again. That's not bad. If Fu Su ascends, it will indeed be more beneficial for our school of Inyang. Great Si-Ming and young Si-Ming nodded in agreement. Dustless and Dustless had a good personal relationship. Judging from Dustless' personality, he was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Dustless had saved him time and time again, so he would definitely not mistreat the school of Inyang. Chapter 1964. As for the current king of Qin Zhang, he could only say sorry. People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Although Zhang is a good emperor, he and Wuchen are not on the same path. Sooner or later, they will part ways. Zhang had always seen the 100 schools of thought as a huge threat, and wanted to get rid of them. But it was worth mentioning that the school of Inyang was also one of the 100 schools of thought, and it was the strongest. On top of that, compared to Fu Su, Zhang was a tough man. Previously, Wuchen had used the elixir of immortality to lure Zhang to Mulberry Sea. If he was still alive and knew that the elixir of immortality had not been completed, there was a high chance that Zhang would be enraged and wipe out the school of Inyang. Since that was the case, Dustless could only act in advance. Damn you, Zhao Gao! What are you doing? On the streets that were dyed red with blood, a large number of disciples of the school of thought and Qin soldiers were fighting. It was an unprecedented chaotic battle, and the pungent smell of blood permeated the air. This has nothing to do with me. Zhao Gao had a bitter expression. He did not know where so many school of thought rebels came from. Looking around, there were at least 1,000 people fighting. I remember you said that you had pointed the spearhead of the school of thought at Dustless. How can you still have the time to deal with His Majesty? This is a dereliction of duty. Li Si scolded decisively, pushing all the blame to Zhao Gao. The so-called follower and ally, from a certain perspective, was taking the blame for himself. This bastard. Hearing this, Zhao Gao wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was even more dissatisfied with Li Si, but he could only accept it. After all, Li Si was the prime minister, while he was just a first-rank official. The difference in status was too great. It could even be said that if Li Si killed Zhao Gao, Zhang would only frown. As for Zhao Gao who killed Li Si, he would definitely be killed. That was the difference. Quickly go support His Majesty. Seeing that Zhao Gao was still standing there in a daze, the furious Li Si kicked his butt and scolded. Idiot, if His Majesty dies, Fu Su will immediately ascend to the throne. At that time it will be difficult for the two of us to move forward. Isn't Lord Prime Minister's worries too groundless? We can totally change the edict. Zhao Gao said with a frown. In fact, he wished that Zhang would die right now, so that he and Li Si could change the edict and set Hu Hai as the legal heir. Idiot, have you forgotten about the school of Inyang? Do you think Wu Chun, that brat, will watch us change the edict? Li Si looked at Zhao Gao in annoyance and said seriously. And you've neglected one person. Fu Su and Meng Tian's relationship is very good. Meng Tian has 300,000 soldiers under him. This, my lord, is right. Without hesitation, Zhao Gao rushed over to support Zhang. Suddenly, he felt that what Li Si said was very reasonable. In this era, whoever controlled the military power would in fact control everything. Pucci, Pucci, Pucci. On the other side, since Zheng was the main target of the siege, the disciples of the School of Agriculture swarmed over. There were also many powerful warriors, even though Yueshan and concubine Yan were both powerful warriors. But if Wei Zhuang, Gunya, Zaiyayozi, and the other powerful warriors of the School of Agriculture joined forces to besiege them, how long could they last? 2 fists were no match for 4 feet. The human wave tactic was still very effective against some people. Seriously, I've already decided to kill Zheng, concubine Yan, and Yueshan don't have to work so hard. It's good that they can give up a little. Wu Chen, who was watching the situation silently, couldn't help but frown. He sighed and said, humans still need to know how to act according to the situation. Although the order I gave them before was to protect Zheng's safety, I haven't shown up yet. It means that the plan has been changed. Concubine Yan and Yueshan should find a chance to escape. If Zheng doesn't die, he will go to the Mirage sooner or later. Yin Zhongjuan's elixir of immortality is not completed yet. By then Great Siming's face turned cold. Then, she gritted her teeth and left. Stop. Glancing at her, Dustless stopped her and said, Great Siming, you don't have to worry about this. Just watch quietly. But, no buts. Dustless interrupted Great Siming and said calmly in his heart, no matter what, I am someone who has lived in a few worlds and killed countless immortals. If I can't even deal with an emperor, where am I going to put my face? Dustless did not want to waste time explaining. He blinked his eyes gently. The reincarnation Sharingan in his left eye flowed with an evil radiance. Tomb of Samsara, border prison. A few shadows sped out in succession. They were silent and untraceable. In this world, no one could detect the shadow of Tomb of Samsara, border prison. It's not a loss for you to be able to die under this move. The power of Tomb of Samsara, border prison was undeniable. Dustless had used this move to kill a god. Now that Zheng was killed by this move, it was definitely a top luxurious VIP treatment. Do you think I'm someone who can be killed by anyone? On the other side, Zheng was surrounded by the disciples of the School of Agriculture. However, he was not afraid. His hawk-like eyes were filled with coldness. Those who were targeted by Zheng felt as if they were sitting on pins and needles. Pfft. It was also at this moment that a bloody hole appeared on Zheng's chest out of nowhere. The attack went through his entire body and destroyed his heart in an instant. How is this possible? Who did this? Zheng looked at the wound on his chest in disbelief. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. No one attacked him. Why was there a bloody hole in his chest all of a sudden? Heaven's wrath. This must be heaven's wrath. Zheng must have done all kinds of evil and angered the heavens. Someone in the crowd started to kick up a fuss. They attributed Zheng's death to the heaven's masterpiece with groundless reasons. Needless to say, it did cause quite a commotion. Chapter 1965. The people in this era were not like the modern society in the future, where all the mysteries could be explained by science. The people in this era believed in ghosts and gods. Especially when Zheng died in such a strange way. It was inevitable that everyone would think the wrong way. His chest had been perfectly fine all of a sudden, and now there was a bloody hole. Was this something a human could do? It must be the wrath of heaven. Run. His Majesty has triggered heaven. For the past few years, the Empire has brought disaster to the world. Millions of people have lost their homes. This is the wrath of heaven. That's right. Run if you don't want to die. Do you want your families to be implicated as well? Nobody knew who was the one who deliberately made the Qin soldiers panic. The soldiers threw away their armor and fled in all directions. It was hard to accept the wrath of heaven, and the resentment of heaven if their families were implicated. Zhang Liang, this kid. Dustless could not help but give him a thumbs up and said in admiration. This guy really knows how to take advantage of the situation. What wrath of heaven? It's all nonsense. The jade-faced young man who was making a fuss in the crowd was Zhang Liang. Let's wait a little longer. It's almost time for us to go out and clean up the battlefield. Dustless stretched his body. He planned to take action later. It was too much of a coincidence that he appeared right after Yingzheng died. It was inevitable that some people would use this to their advantage. But if we leave them alone like this, those traitors will run away sooner or later. Great Siming looked worried as he gritted his teeth. He seemed to be very unwilling to give up. It's okay. Hearing this, Dustless took a sip of tea calmly. Eliminating the rebels had always been his side job. His main purpose was to get the 7 constellations of Azure Dragon. As for those rebels, it was just a matter of convenience. Moreover, who told you that this group of traitors could escape? Don't forget that there are others besides us. At this moment, there are people who are more anxious than us. Dustless closed his eyes calmly and let his mind wander. Plop. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Yingzheng finally fell to the ground with a confused look. Until the moment of his death, he still did not understand how he died. Could it be that he had really angered the heavens? It was complete nonsense. Throughout history, there were countless tyrants. Xia had tyrant Jie, Zhou had King Yu of Zhou, and Shang had King Zhou of Shang. They were all famous tyrants. Why didn't they die in such a bizarre way? Damn it, it must be some despicable person who plotted against me. Yingzheng roared in his heart, but he could not utter a single word. After a long while he closed his eyes completely. The heart was destroyed. Not to mention this backward era. Even in the era where Wu Qin lived before, there was no way to save the heart. There was no way to save it. Your Majesty. Zhao Gao and Li Si, who had just arrived, were filled with grief and hatred. When they saw the hole in Yingzheng's chest, their faces turned pale, and they had a bad feeling that a great calamity was about to befall them. Of course, it was not that they cared about Qin Shi Huang, but after this emperor died, Fu Su would naturally ascend to the throne. At that time, wouldn't they be in trouble? We must not let Fu Su become the emperor. Zhao Gao and Li Si exchanged glances. In their hearts, they decided that they could not let Fu Su become the second Qin Shi Huang. Otherwise, their good days would come to an end. In the past, the two of them had done many things to set Fu Su up, especially this assassination. Some of the assassins were arranged by Zhao Gao, and their goal was naturally to frame Fu Su. Quickly capture this group of rebels. After capturing them alive, interrogate the mastermind. Li Si waved his hand. Some of the Qin soldiers who did not escape, as well as the 6 sword slaves, swarmed over, and once again engaged in a brawl with the peasant soldiers. Zhao Gao, come here. Rolling his eyes, Li Si immediately called Zhao Gao over and sneered. I have a good plan. A good plan. Zhao Gao was overjoyed. As the prime minister, Li Si's shrewdness was unquestionable. Naturally, his plan was flawless. Order the 6 sword slaves to capture a few people alive. Make them confess that the person who ordered this assassination was Fu Su. Li Si's eyes shone with a light that seemed to be choosing people to devour. He sneered. We must let everyone in the world know that Yingzheng was killed by Fu Su. This way he will be despised by everyone. Let's see who will speak up for him. Ayaya. What are the two of you planning? At this moment, a voice without any warning entered Zhao Gao and Li Si's ears. The two of them were startled and turned to see that it was Dustless. Why is there no movement like a ghost? Li Si gloomily glared at Wu Qin and secretly cursed his bad luck. Everywhere we go we meet this guy. Why do the two of you have such ugly expressions? Dustless looked at Zhao Gao and Li Si with a smile and said directly, Yingzheng is dead. The two of you should be very happy. Don't you slander us. Hearing this, Zhao Gao's face changed and refuted. Dustless, how dare you call His Majesty by his name? This is swoosh swoosh swoosh. At the same time, a deadly blade light swept over. The blade shone with a cold light that reflected on one's skin and caused a slight tingling sensation. What was worth mentioning was that the enemy locked onto by this fatal sharpness was neither Wu Qin nor Zhao Gao, but Prime Minister, get out of the way. Zhao Gao reminded with a sharp voice. Looking over, the person the blade light was pointing at was the stunned Li Si. Although Zhao Gao had reminded him, it was still too late. Li Si was not a martial artist and his reaction was much slower than a martial artist's. Pucci. A A stream of crimson blood splashed in the air. The blade cut through Li Si's body, and a right arm covered in blood appeared on the ground. It was Li Si's right arm. Chapter 1966. Li Si, kill me if you have the guts. Wei Zhuang's eyes were full of disdain. He didn't have Li Si's despotic power at all. He admitted that he was defeated by Dustless. There was always someone better than him. After all, Dustless had enough strength to despise everything. But what was a mere Li Si? To put it bluntly, in Wei Zhuang's eyes, although Li Si was a capable minister, he was jealous. He was good at scheming, but as for force, he was not even as good as a soldier of Qin state. A civil official was always a civil official. Wei Zhuang, you don't have to provoke me deliberately. I've been an official for many years. I'm no longer a hot-blooded young man like you. Li Si's arm was bleeding. Although the military doctor stopped the bleeding in time, it was still painful. He scolded angrily. Do you want to die so easily? It's not that easy. Haha. Li Si laughed hysterically with blood in his gums. I want you to taste all the pain in the world. I won't allow you to die so carelessly. Otherwise, I'll suffer a great loss. After all, he had lost an arm. If he didn't let Wei Zhuang experience it himself, Li Si really felt sorry for himself. Time flew, and it was night in a flash. On the Mirage, overlooking the night scene of Shanghai City, everything in the world was changing in their eyes. Everything, including the red lights and green lights, the red light streets and alleys, flashed across their eyes. However, tonight's Shanghai City was a little different from before. Although it was still gorgeous, it was covered with an invisible shadow. There was no other reason. It was all because of Ying Zheng's death, which was no less bad than the collapse of the sky. Did you kill Ying Zheng? Inside the Mirage, Yueshin and concubine Yin stared at Dustless in shock. They both said worriedly, such a big crime is enough to wipe out the whole family 10 times. It's a pity that Ying Zheng won't have that chance. Hearing that, Dustless, who was lying on the main seat, opened his eyes and changed to a comfortable posture. He crossed his legs and said calmly, Don't worry. No one in the world knows it was me. Go back and have a rest. Rest? Yueshin and concubine Yin looked at each other. Dustless asked them to go back and have a rest when the emperor was dead. Was he kidding? Ying Zheng was dead? Who could stay calm? How is the situation with Zhao Gao and Li Si? Dustless suddenly asked. In order to prevent Fu Su from ascending the throne, they will definitely do something desperate. I'm afraid Ying Zheng's posthumous edict is in Li Si's hands. There's no movement for now. Moon God gave Dustless a look that said, everything is under control. It's only temporary. Based on my guess, Zhao Gao and Li Si will probably change the edict to frame Fu Su and make Hu Hai the emperor, Dustless said with certainty. Are Zhao Gao and Li Si that bold? Imperial concubine Yin was suspicious of Dustless's words. Li Si usually looked like a loyal ruler. How could he do such a disgraceful thing? Don't think that this is a fantasy. The truth is the truth. Dustless was too lazy to continue explaining. He just seriously instructed the two women. You two can go down. Remember to observe Li Si and Zhao Gao's every move. Understood. Moon God and Imperial concubine Yin nodded, bowed and left. In the huge hall, only Dustless was left. I've already sent Moon God and Imperial concubine Yin away. If you have anything to say, you can stand up and say it. There's no need to hide. A ripple swept across the void. The dead silent hall lingered. Dustless's calm voice spread to every corner. Tap, tap, tap. Following that, the sound of slow footsteps could be heard from the darkness. A woman with an enchanting appearance could be clearly seen. She was walking gracefully, but her delicate face was full of sadness. She couldn't sleep or eat well. Qilian, although I didn't restrict your freedom on the Mirage, you were too bold to eavesdrop on my conversation with Moon God and the others. I gave you an inch and you wanted a mile. Dustless stared at Qilian indifferently. His tone was slightly cold. Cut the crap. What do you want to save Wei Zhuang? Hope appeared in Qilian's crystal eyes. She looked at Wu Chen with a longing expression and said in a low voice, If you are willing to save Lord Wei Zhuang, I can be your slave or maid. I will do whatever you want. Is it worth it? Maybe in Wei Zhuang's eyes, you are just a chess piece, a sword. Dustless sighed. He was envious of Wei Zhuang's good luck. Then he said bluntly, "It's a pity that you are too late. Wei Zhuang was dismembered by Li Si a few hours ago." Dismembered by 5 horses? Hearing this, Qi Lian felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She was stunned. That's right. Li Si killed Wei Zhuang with the cruelest punishment as soon as he captured him. So it's useless for you to beg me to save Wei Zhuang. Dustless said coldly. If it weren't for him, even Qi Lian would have died. Damn Li Si. How dare he kill Lord Wei Zhuang? I will avenge him. After saying that, Qi Lian left angrily. It seemed that she was going to make trouble for Li Si. Qi Lian, Li Si is protected by the 6-sword slave. I'm afraid you will be killed in a second. Dustless's sudden words made Qi Lian's heart turn to ashes. She couldn't help but smile bitterly. Anyone who challenged the 6-sword slave seemed to be doomed. Yes, he can. An invincible figure suddenly appeared in her mind. Qi Lian wept with joy. Then she strode toward Dustless, who was sitting on the main seat. Help me kill Li Si. I can promise you anything. As soon as she said that, Qi Lian's eyes were filled with lust. She deliberately pulled her clothes down to her chest. Dustless saw her snow-white and flawless skin. Chapter 1967. On the main seat, Dustless quietly sized up Qi Lian. Her fair cheeks were rosy and her entire body was filled with a mature aura. Every inch of her skin was brimming with a scent that could stir one's heart. What a seductress! I have to say, you are very charming. Dustless gently sniffed the lingering fragrance on Qi Lian's body and nodded in admiration. You agree? Qi Lian was overjoyed when she heard this. She deliberately stroked her hair coquettishly and made some outrageous moves. Some of the private parts of her body that could not be taken lightly were all exposed in front of Dustless. If this fellow agrees, Li Si's head will be mine. Qi Lian smiled at Dustless. Her thin lips were close to Dustless's face as she softly said, If that's the case, won't you agree? It's fine if you agree. You bastard, are you messing with me? Qi Lian was suddenly enraged. Dustless might have praised her as a seductress, but the expression on his face clearly stated that he was indifferent. Wu Chen's indifferent gaze did not move at all. His expression was as calm as an ancient well. What made Qi Lianhua even more surprised was that the corners of Wu Chen's lips curled up into a sneer. Qi Lian, you don't have to lie to me. Dustless glanced at Qi Lian indifferently and said in a bored manner, Your tricks are too childish. Don't think that your intelligence is superior to others, and that you are special. That's just too laughable. What do you mean? Qi Lian's expression stiffened when she heard this. She pretended to be confused and said, Dustless, I don't understand what you are saying. As long as you bring Li Si's head here, I will agree to any of your requests. Remember, any request. Qi Lian was afraid that Dustless would not understand, and purposely blew a breath of hot air into his ear. Umph. Dustless's expression immediately changed when he saw that this woman was still so full of herself. He sneered and said, Qi Lian, I advise you not to waste your effort. I'm afraid that you will commit suicide by drinking poison right after I kill Li Si, right? You. Qi Lian's face suddenly jumped twice as he raised his head and looked straight into Dustless's eyes. Those clear eyes seemed to be able to see through one's heart. Qi Lian hurriedly moved his eyes away. Am I wrong? Dustless smiled disdainfully. For you, Wei Zhuang is your belief. He is your everything. Now that he is dead, there is no need for you to continue living. Am I right? And, sorting out his thoughts, Dustless continued to say in a cold voice, You offered such generous conditions. At the root of it all, it's just to instigate me to kill Li Si, then commit suicide yourself. Although I can understand your actions, your way of doing things is too foolish. In reality, Dustless would definitely kill Li Si even if Crimson Viper didn't say anything. Therefore, from a certain perspective, Qi Lian's actions from before were completely asking for humiliation. It was completely useless and would only make Dustless hate her even more. Goodbye. Glancing at the despondent Qi Lian, Dustless casually left. People who liked to think that they were clever often thought that they were special and could scheme against anyone. In reality, this kind of thinking was laughable and ignorant. Everyone had the same head and two hands. There was no difference. Moreover, Dustless was a proper transmigrator, just based on Qi Lian, and he still wanted to scheme against him. Wasn't that too childish? Bang. 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 A commotion came from the Mulberry Sea Villa. Looking carefully, the floor was littered with all kinds of exquisite porcelain shards. Under the dim candlelight, one could see the reflections of several people on the floor. Imperial Father was killed in broad daylight, yet none of you were able to find the culprit. What's the point of having a bunch of rice cooks like you? Fu Su threw a rare tantrum. The two people in front of him were Li Si and Zhao Gao. Young master, you can't blame me or the Prime Minister for this matter. The person who spoke was Zhao Gao. This time his tone was different from before. It was filled with coldness and a trace of disdain. Moreover, the biggest difference was that Zhao Gao had always lowered his head to speak. This time he looked directly into Fu Su's eyes. Even Li Si did the same. Don't blame you. Hearing this, Fu Su was so angry that he laughed. He angrily rebuked. You two dare to quibble. Imperial Father was assassinated in front of the two of you. You can't even find the culprit, and you say it has nothing to do with you? How dare you? Young master, this matter indeed has nothing to do with us. Li Si also helped Zhao Gao. Their actions were the same. They no longer lowered their heads to look at Fu Su. Instead, they looked directly into his eyes. Their tone was neither servile nor overbearing. What's wrong with these two today? They have a temper. Seeing this, Fu Su frowned. He naturally noticed the change in their tone. The culprit who tried to assassinate His Majesty did not run away. He is right in front of us. Zhao Gao smiled evilly. His face was filled with a twisted evil smile. It made one shudder. Seeing this, Fu Su subconsciously took a few steps back. That's right. Li Si also nodded. His eyes were filled with a sinister smile. Young master, do you still not understand? At this moment, Zhao Gao suddenly spoke. He sneered and said, that group of assassins shouted, clear the name of Lord Chongping. Don't you feel that you are the most suspicious? I know your relationship with Lord Chongping. The real culprit behind this should be you, young master Fu Su. Li Si was indeed a politician. He misinterpreted a deer as a horse and pushed all the blame to Fu Su. You're tuning into the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.